dab me a hello. You dab me a hello. You dab me a hello.
Welcome. You dab me a hello. I am R5. We have.
Uh-oh. RJ, you're like phasing in and out.
Am I?
Are we on a bad acid trip?
I don't think so. Can you
What's
hear me?
happening? Now I can hear you. Yeah,
This is an episode about
Okay.
the 60s.
That's
weird.
true. That's
That
true.
was
We've all
weird.
prepared. But hey, we're here. It is the top songs of the 60s. I'm super excited. I bought a terrible shirt from Kohl's in advance of this. And yeah. You guys ever like looked at something when you're like going to buy and they're like, that's a super nice shirt. And then I put it on. And the first thing my wife says to me, she's like, this is Freddy Krueger vibes. And I was like, thank you. It's not the same
I was
color,
gonna
but
say Charlie Brown, but
well, I'm happy. It actually matches my shoes. I got my brown in my shoes. So
Does it match your
matches
purse
the
also?
brown in your pants.
oh man. But hey, I'm excited. I didn't have the normal practice. I usually practice earlier in the band, and I didn't have that, so I was prepared tonight. I came, I sat down like half hour early and just ready for it. So
Excellent.
how you guys doing?
The way it started totally seemed like we were well prepared today. So if that's
man.
prepared, yeah.
Yeah, this is gonna be a good night.
Yeah.
But yeah, how's the week been? We had a big snowstorm in between the last show.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was awful. That was
I
terrible.
loved it. Loved every minute of it.
I got to meet all my new neighbors though, so that was cool. I went
That's true.
outside with my shovel. People were outside, and everyone was just hanging out. It was like this big neighborhood hangout in the middle of the snow, and it was like -5 degrees, but it was cool. That was
Nice.
fun.
That seems like really suspicious to me. Like there might be a cult in your neighborhood. So just
Actually,
Like
I was
that.
gonna say the same thing happened on my street, and actually somebody came over and snow blowed my driveway with me because I only had a shovel too. And I kind of feel like I should have done more. Like after it was over, I did my stuff, and then I drove away because I wanted to get the cars out of the driveway, and everybody was still out helping each other, and I was just like, thanks, and ran off with the car.
Thanks for
Yeah,
the help,
but-
suckers.
as you like shovel more snow into their driveway.
But I actually love the snow, especially when it's that much. I'd rather have a huge snowstorm than just that slushiness like we're supposed to get tomorrow. So I'm not excited about the sleety rain stuff that's going on. But
That's gonna suck.
Nah,
yeah.
the snow can go kick rocks for all I care. I'm done with it.
Oh, I hate snow. I didn't say I like snow. I'm just saying I get to meet my neighbors, and it was cool. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only
Sure.
thing I like is, my daughter loves playing in it. My dog likes playing in it. So watching them, run around and run through the snow and build snowmen. That's about it. But shoveling sucks big time. And
Yep.
I need a snow.
I'm at
blower,
that
but-
age now where I'm shoveling, and I think I'm going to have a heart attack the entire time. Like my
Yeah.
chest starts to hurt. I sweat through my jacket. Like it's bad.
He's shoveling while he still has a bag of donuts.
The donuts were my
Tell me about the donuts, RJ.
the donuts were my reward for doing it. I didn't do it beforehand.
You were like, "Bye, guys. Thanks for helping me out." And then you sat inside eating donuts while everybody's outside shoveling.
Looking out the window too. Oh.
Well, with the snow, I made a bad parent. Well, it wasn't a bad parent; it was a lazy parenting decision. So as you know, snow came and it was like, it was cold this weekend. It was like 10 degrees over the weekend, and Eliza was like, "Oh, I know she wants to go sledding," and I sent her outside in the backyard for a while. She played out there, and then by the time it was over, I was like, "Let's just go to Dave and Buster's." And we went to Dave and Buster's inside, played in the arcade, and that was it. She had a fun time, and I didn't have to go out in the cold, so it worked out. But
Nice. As long as she had fun.
Yeah, it
You
was
guys
a
can
good
come
time.
over and sled in my backyard if you want.
That's true. Right into the what is it? The Lowe's
swing set.
Well, that too, but
Oh,
right into
my
the
kid,
Mack truck.
my kid just went sledding down our deck stairs because there's so much snow and
Oh,
it's
wow.
all compacted. So he just went sledding down the stairs yesterday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good parenting all around. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
I mean, nobody got hurt. He said his hands were cold because they got wet. Kid stuff.
That's
Nice.
his explanation that he told the doctor.
He really did go sledding down the stairs. Okay.
Well, hey, we're here. We're talking about the greatest songs of the 60s. So as I said in our preview of tonight's episode, it is three people who did not live through that decade here to tell you the best of that decade.
Right.
So if you did live through that decade and you're listening to us tonight, please let us know if we're on the right path or not, or if we're completely crazy. I did grow up listening to 60s music. My parents were super into 80s, 70s, 60s, and 50s as I was growing up, obviously, because that's just the only time that had passed to that point. But we were,
2000s.
Yeah.
1949.
But I just remember owning. My mom had all the 45s, all the records of a bunch of the people on this list. I remember more like 70s, 80s, Partridge Family, Motown stuff. But there is some Motown on here too, so I'm pretty excited. But yeah, I think we can get right into it. But anything? Oh, actually, Andy, can you tell the audience a little bit about what in the world it is that we do here on the podcast? Because I think over the past couple of weeks we've gotten some new viewers.
Yeah, so if you're tuning in for the first time or second time, you're like, I don't really understand what they do. So the three of us get together prior. Yeah, we get our list. We all have to agree that something belongs on the list, which is not an easy task to do. We take our top 16 that we're doing today, and RJ literally throws it into a randomized bracket. And what we're going to do is two songs are going to go up against each other. And between the three of us, we're going to vote on which is the better song, and we'll move on to the next round, and so on and so forth until we have a final and a winner. So if you think of, if you're a college basketball fan, this is very much like March Madness and in the brackets. So that's the way we do things. So if you're wondering why, oh man, these two are like my favorite songs and they're going against each other in the first round, we didn't choose it that way. It's just Randy Miser put it in the bracket.
Yeah.
That's a throwback. So, our first 11 episodes, I think it was, were without Mike. And I think Mike finally made his appearance in the 11th episode. I think it was maybe Top Radio Rock 2000s. Does that sound familiar?
Sounds about right.
Before then, before we had a third person, we would literally randomize the third tiebreaker if Andy and I couldn't decide together. So, here we are, guys. This is it. It's everything from Daydream Believer all the way down to California Dreamin'. Oh, didn't do that on purpose.
Hey.
Oh, hey.
Yeah. We're bookending daydreams. But this is it. So let's start right off. We've got Daydream Believer by the Monkees, right? And I Want to Hold Your Hand. Oh, sorry. I'm thinking of the wrong thing. I Want to Hold Your Hand. So what do you guys think? Daydream Believer versus I Want to Hold Your Hand.
Beatles versus the Monkees. So it's like whatever. That's why I named myself the Andes today, because I feel like every single band was just the insert animal or object, and that's what your name was. Like I could be the Phones. That's gonna be the new generation. I'm going with the Beatles. I Want to Hold Your Hand.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with the Beatles myself. Not that I'm not a Monkees fan, but it's the Beatles. It's hard to compete with the Beatles.
Yeah, they're both super catchy. I Want to Hold Your Hand, definitely more classic for me. Daydream Believer is good, but I Want to Hold Your Hand. Great song. Great band, obviously. Yeah. Anything to say about Daydream Believer?
It's one of those songs that, I've literally listened to this list for the past week.
Mm-hmm.
And I started skipping this song. It got to the point where I was like, I don't know if I can listen to this every single time. Like, it's cool to listen to once in a while. Was super into the Monkees TV show as a kid, all the reruns. When I would stay home sick, I'd watch that. Even if I wasn't sick, hell, the Monkees were on. They were super funny. So that's kind of my take on the song.
Yeah. Daydream Believer was originally recorded by the Monkees with Davy Jones. Did reach number 1 in the top 100 in 1967. It It was there for 4 weeks. I didn't know this, but in 1979, it was actually recorded again by Anne Murray, who's a Canadian singer. One of my mom's favorites, actually. I used to hear a lot of her in the house as well. So again, great song, but you're right, Andy. I was listening to it a lot this week too, and I found that after the first like 45 seconds of the song, I was ready to turn it. It was like, yeah, it's a good song, but I'm done.
Yeah, it gets a little sickly after a while. That song, it's a little too uppity for me.
Yeah.
You know, it was the last single, their last #1 single they released before they broke up. So I guess this is a fitting time to kick them out of the bracket.
Some of my friends who had a band in Connecticut, they actually got to play a couple shows with Peter Tork, who
cool.
played piano, and they did a couple of Monkey songs at some local shows in Connecticut. It was kind of fun. But there you go, Beatles. Moving on. Next up, we've got I Heard It Through the Grapevine versus I Got You. I Feel Good. I Feel Good making a comeback these days on TikTok. It's one of those songs they're using currently to scare the crap out of spouses, using the song just blasting in a room in the beginning. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out. It's fun stuff. But what do you guys think?
Oh, man. This is actually a tough one because I like both of these songs. I think mostly
the Grapevine was who again? Is this the Gladys?
That was Marvin Gaye.
We're doing the Marvin Gaye version. Okay.
Yeah, not the California Raisins version, which is the one we should have done.
Yeah,
that's how I remember the song. That's how I first learned about this song. What do you got? What do you got? What do you got?
I'm gonna go with I Got You. And it's I think it's partly because it's such a timeless song. It's literally making a comeback today. It may actually be back on the charts because of TikTok. TikTok is known for bringing back songs and making them popular again. And this is just one that's I'm still singing right now, and I'm thinking of all of the scare tactics of that song. So I'm gonna go with I Got You.
Mike, I'm going to make this difficult for you and go with I Heard It Through the Grapevine. I know this has been done by multiple people, but Marvin Gaye's voice is just unworldly and really shows it off in this song.
Yeah. I know Smokey Robinson and the Miracles were the first ones to record I Heard It Through the Grapevine, but I would agree with you that Marvin Gaye version is better. But I don't think it's as good as James Brown. So I'm going to have to go with I Feel Good.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about I Heard It Through the Grapevine. This song was released in 1967 originally. Marvin Gaye's version was the third version to be released here. But it's become a classic. It was actually inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame back in 1998. And in 2004, it was placed number 80 on the Rolling Stone list of the greatest songs of all time. So anything to say about I Heard It Through the Grapevine?
This is Gaye's first #1 hit and really skyrocketed his career. A bunch of people tried to put this out prior. Like you said, Smokey Robinson, the Miracles, the Isley Brothers also tried, but didn't work. So I guess Marvin Gaye originally did it as well, and they were like, no, it still doesn't sound good. But I guess they ended up going with it. So I'm a little disappointed it's out, but both classic songs, so I'm not too disappointed.
It has
Mike,
its
anything
place.
to add?
Not really. No, I mean the song was big back then. Originally it was on his album called In the Groove, and then the song became so big that they just renamed the album Heard It Through the Grapevine. So that tells you how big of a hit it really was back then. And it's a great song, but it's hard to compete with James Brown. So
Sure. Next up, we've got What a Wonderful World versus You Can't Hurry Love. What a Wonderful World being by Louis Armstrong. You Can't Hurry Love by the Supremes. What are your thoughts, guys?
If I don't choose What a Wonderful World, my Nana will fly back from Florida and strangle me. So that's my immediate answer.
I want to see that, so I'm going to go with You Can't Hurry Love.
All right, so you're choosing What a Wonderful World. You're choosing You Can't Hurry Love. So now it is on me. And I am torn because I really do like both of these songs.
It's on you and your beautiful sweater.
I don't know. I do like it.
It's not bad, RJ. You beat yourself up. It's a nice sweater.
That's true.
Yeah, I like it.
I'm gonna go with What a Wonderful World as well.
Yeah.
More classic for me. It's just a song I've heard probably more than You Can't Hurry Love. But You Can't Hurry Love is such a good song too. The Supremes are great. The Supremes, is that I'm gonna sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. Is
Diana Ross?
Is that it's Diana Ross? Yeah, I don't know why I was thinking Donna Summer for some reason, but
Wrong
yeah,
era.
totally off.
Yeah.
Close.
Close.
What a Wonderful World, great song. You Can't Hurry Love. Anything to say about that as we kick that out of the list here today?
Billboard ranked this number 19 on their 100 greatest girl group songs of all time. The BBC ranked it as number 16 in their top 100 digital Motown chart, which is based just on UK downloads and streams of Motown releases. So, major hit. Again, it's super catchy, gets in your head, and you just can't hurry love. You just have to wait.
You just have to wait.
Actually, I'm a huge fan of the cover of this by Phil Collins, which came out many years later. I remember hearing that. It was in 1982. I'm looking that up now. But that was great. I used to love Phil Collins, love Genesis, love everything he's a part of. And so hearing that song again in a different light was pretty good. But I don't know if it beats the original. The original is really, really good. I'm kind of sad to see it go, but What a Wonderful World is classic.
Yeah. Timeless.
All right, guys. Moving on. Timeless. Moving on. We've got Build Me Up Buttercup. And that one for this one is The Foundations, correct?
Yes.
Versus Suspicious Minds by Elvis Presley. What are we thinking here?
I'm going with Elvis on this one. Why? Because I listened to it one time a week ago, and for the past 7 days, it's been stuck in my head from the time that I go to sleep and wake up.
Man, Elvis Presley, I never jumped on the Elvis Presley train. And I know that's going to hurt a lot of our fans. But I ended up listening to a number of his songs through covers from other people. And then I went back and heard, Elvis Presley's versions, and I'm starting to get, the deal here. So I'm going to go with Suspicious Minds as well. Build Me Up Buttercup is a great song. But for me, Build Me Up Buttercup kind of gets on my nerves after a little while. Mm-hmm. Suspicious Minds, really good. Not only really good singing, but the music in it is very, very good as well. I appreciate it a lot. So Suspicious Minds.
Yeah, I would have chosen the same. I don't know how Build Me Up Buttercup actually ended up on this list, because the more I listen to it, the more I hate it. And the last time I remember it being really popular was when Me, Myself, and what was that movie? Me, Myself, and Irene came out. I almost said Me, Myself, and Eileen. So it was something about Mary. That's right. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
That was the last time I remember it being super popular. And I hated it then too. So I don't know how it made it on this list.
Because it's super popular. It's still popular today.
I mean, it's a great song. Yeah. I do like it.
We were definitely on the fence if it was going to make it into our top 16. We're definitely going to talk about songs that we all wanted on our list at the end, because
there's so many.
Some of my favorite songs did not make it on here.
Mm-hmm.
But personal preferences. But yeah, definitely if you continuously listen to this song, you're gonna keep skip. But like the first time I put it on, I was like, oh man, this is such a great song. And then the second time I was like, all right, it's still a great song. By the third or fourth time, I was like, this is terrible.
Yeah,
it's not. It's just you just can't play it over and over. Again, it's kind of like that, like Mike was saying about that other song. It's just so upbeat.
Yeah,
it's almost like,
it's sickening.
Yeah,
it's too saccharine.
So, Build Me Up Buttercup originally came out in 1968. It hit number 3 in 1969 on the Billboard Hot 100. And it was certified gold pretty quickly. Over 1 million copies sold. I mean, it was a big hit for the foundations. Like you said, something about Mary. It was in Geico commercials, and it's also used in the LA Angels 7th inning stretch for a number of years. So, but that's it. Let's move on. We've got Brown Eyed Girl versus My Girl. Again, random. Sorry, the girls are together.
Oh, this is
a tough one.
Unfair. This is
although
unfair.
Brown Eyed Girl. Is this the what version did we go with?
Van Morrison.
Van Morrison.
There's only
My
one.
Girl, obviously the Temptations.
Yeah,
I'm going with My Girl, guys. That's
not my favorite Temptation song. Though.
No, I don't know how I feel about that.
I'm going with Van Morrison on this one.
Oh gosh, okay. This is it. Brown Eyed Girl or My Girl? Come on, girl. Which one?
I gotta go with Brown Eyed Girl.
Oh my word! What?
I know.
We're kicking the Temptations off
I
of the
know.
1960s.
You have no idea how horrible I feel right now
list?
because the
I don't wanna
Temptations.
know
Like,
how hard you
it
feel.
was the meme I sent out. There was too many damn Temptations.
There was. Again,
You
not
had to pick one.
not my favorite Temptation song. And I had more than one on my list as well.
I agree with Pete's comment here that My Girl is too iconic to lose in the first round. Oh yeah, that was a tough matchup. That one should have went a little further.
It's the random Randy. Randy's doing it again.
Randy.
Tim, start your own podcast then about picking songs.
I think we should have Tim on the podcast one day. I feel like he would be someone fun to argue with on the show.
You don't want to argue with Tim. You know what?
It's gonna be Tim, me, and RJ and Microsoft. And
Guys,
Mike's gonna be in the comments.
I just wanna mention a Duval people. I'm on your side. I chose My Girl. I don't understand what happened here either. Tim is not a dad, but he can be a daddy for the day, I guess.
Daddy for the day. It happened to me once too.
You'd be an honorary dad.
That's something that shouldn't be. Here, have a kid. All right, let's talk about My Girl a little bit.
Yes, Tim, be careful.
It depends. If you're good or not, you get asked to come back.
Sorry to anyone who's listening, but I've just started a civil war in the chat.
I know. I apologize. Pete, actually, for the fans who are at home, Pete was actually one of the original first-time guests on the show. I think he was in our top Disney bracket, which actually was 2 episodes long. And I don't remember, Pete, if you can throw it out there. Were you on another one, or was it just the top Disney one? I can't remember off the top.
He was on your 4-7 podcast as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was on the other podcast. Thank you for that. 4-7 podcast available 4-7. Can't do 7, but yeah, it's available on YouTube and Facebook and Spotify. That one is an interview one where we interview rock artists, Christian rock artists actually, and we've had some pretty cool people on it. Obviously, as you can tell, cooler than people here like Pete. But no, I'm just kidding. Pete actually brought some people onto that show for me. Pete was on our Switchfoot episode over on the 4-7 podcast. So thank you, Pete. I'm ignoring all the comments that are coming up, so I know he's talking trash about me, but that's fine.
No, Trista says she only started listening when I came on because I'm the only one who Venmos her every Thursday.
It's the you get from doing the podcast. He just sends it over to our fans.
Correct.
Oh man,
Please
look at
don't expect any money.
We got angry faces.
Oh, we did
Pete,
get angry
actually,
faces. Oh boy.
I want to throw it out there, Pete. The second highest rated episode on the 4-7 was the other one you were on, which was our 90s rock discussion. So both episodes that Pete were on scored almost 1,000 viewers apiece. So thank you, Pete, for giving life to my other podcast.
They love your face, Pete. They love your face.
It's true. It's true. You know it's going to be a good one when Pete shows up and the celebrity on this thing goes, Pete! Oh! So, anyways, let's move on. We've got... Actually, I don't know if we talked about My Girl yet.
Yeah. I mean, it's Temptations. Like,
man, there's so many songs.
Their first,
so many.
The first of 4 number 1 hits. Also the first #1 for a male vocal group on the Motown label. This was another song where Smokey Robinson and the Miracles were involved. They actually wrote the song.
I love Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. They're great.
I'm missing all these comments.
There's so many. I'm just trying to click through them and leave them up for like 5 seconds.
So we killed off the Temptations because Brown Eyed Girl.
Sorry, I just had to throw that out there. Yes, we've essentially alienated half of our podcast here, which happens quite often. But thank you for being so vocal about your hatred for us in this episode. Thank you.
Yes, always appreciate it.
Yes,
we need one of those text to speech things on here, so when we click on the comment, it just reads it in that weird voice, like, "I'm excited for nieces and nephews. Bring it."
No, it'd be nephews.
Yeah, that TikTok voice needs to be on our podcast.
Thank you, Triz. That is, yes. So the Temptations. I love the Temptations. My Girl. I think Andy just said it. It's probably not their best song. Probably one of their most famous songs. But man, they have been everywhere, decades long. So many people, are still listening to them today. I love them a lot. It's sad to see them go in this one. My Girl is a great song. I think My Girl is also in the actual movie My Girl in the 90s, right?
Yes.
They didn't just have the actual title, right? And it also was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame back in 1998. And it was ranked number 88 on Rolling Stone's 500 greatest songs of all time.
Sorry, Andy, I missed it. Did you mention that this was a callback to Smokey Robinson's song "My Guy" that he wrote the year before?
No, I did not say that.
Which I think is the same "My Guy" that was in Sister Act.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Nice.
That's good.
Well, next up, we got the Zombies' Time of the Season versus Unchained Melody by the Righteous Brothers. This is hard because when we first made this list, you guys put Time of the Season on there, and I didn't remember that song. And then I heard it, and I was like, man, I love this song so much.
That's a great song.
And Unchained Melody, I don't know why, but I had a VHS in the 80s or 90s with some music videos on it, and Unchained Melody was one of them, and I heard that song every day for a long time. I wore that VHS out, playing music videos all day, every day.
I swear, sometimes like I close my eyes and I start to listen to the beginning of Time of the Season, and it goes right into Stand By Me instead.
A little bit. Yeah, I can see that.
Which Stand By Me is probably my favorite song of the 60s and did not make this list. But this is
I'm actually wondering how that happened. I think it was Mike's fault, actually.
It was Suspicious Mike's, yes.
Yeah. Because I put it on my list too. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure. I looked at it.
All right, sorry.
Get this.
All right. Time of the Season versus Unchained Melody. How y'all feeling?
Time of the Season for me.
Okay. All right.
I know that's not what RJ is going to pick.
Why? Why do you think?
Because you just professed your love for Unchained Melody.
Yeah, I can't.
But I also said how much I love Time of the Season now that you've reintroduced it into my life.
Okay. So what do you?
But I'm going to choose Unchained Melody.
Oh, of course you are.
It's because he wants to replay the ghost scene with me.
I like Unchained Melody, but there's a newer song out that uses the Unchained Melody theme. Newer song. I don't know how new it is because I'm not hip with the pop music, but it drives me nuts. So I have to go with Time of the Season because that song.
You can't blame Unchained Melody from back 50 years ago because someone screwed it up today.
Yes, I can. I'm a part of this podcast and I have a voice.
Come on, RJ, talk about the Righteous Brothers.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was on a VHS. I used to listen to that song all the time. It came out in
1955.
Wait, why is this even on here?
Wait, what?
What? It was in the Righteous Brothers re-recorded it in the 60s. I'm with you now. 1965 is the best known, recorded by Righteous Brothers. I I don't really have much to say. I didn't listen to the Righteous Brothers otherwise, but I also didn't listen to the Zombies otherwise. So these are just two one-hit wonders for me.
Which is weird because you love Zombies.
That's true. That's true.
So this should be
That's
like
right.
your favorite band.
Except for White Zombie. He doesn't like White Zombie.
No, I don't. No.
Yeah, didn't think so.
He's not.
All right. Well, hey, I got nothing else to say. Let's move on. We got "I Want You Back" by the Jackson 5 versus "Good Vibrations" from the Beach Boys. This is really hard for me.
Yeah.
As you can tell by my name.
I was just gonna say.
It's not for me. It's "I Want You Back."
What?
It's "I Want You Back." That's my pick.
Oh,
I'm picking "I Want You Back."
You said it's not for me, but I didn't say
I don't know how much
anything.
more clear that could be. That I'm picking "I Want You Back."
Andy was saying it was not a difficult
Archie, let me
choice
explain
for
how
him.
we do the show. So we have two things that go against each other, and then each one of us picks our favorite between the two.
So, all right, it's super
Kevin,
hard for me because
I hope that was autocorrect.
the beach.
Or your Amazon search history is very interesting.
I'm getting a good vibrator. She's giving me the excitations. Okay. That maybe that was the original.
Anybody who's listening to the podcast will have no idea.
Sorry, people who are listening. You're right. Andy pointed this out that sometimes we laugh hysterically and never tell the people listening at home. Somebody had posted instead of "good vibrations," "good vibrators," which very much goes with the song. But yeah. So "Good Vibrations." I think Pete said it earlier. So many layers to that song. I love the Beach Boys harmony. It really it's in my opinion a lot of the pop punk emo bands from 2000s and on really learned a ton from the Beach Boys and their multi-layered harmonies and music. And so that big part of my life was the Beach Boys, but Michael Jackson 5, man, like "I Want You Back," not one of my all-time favorite songs that includes Michael Jackson, but man, you have to give it to him. This is a great song. My kids love this song now. 60 years later almost. That's sad to say. So I'm going to go with "I Want You Back" on this one.
Yeah, I would have done the same.
Oh man, everybody who it's gonna be some angry people.
Trista, let us know what happens when you type that in Amazon.
So yeah, let's talk about the Beach Boys for a little bit here. I honestly, personally, I think we could do a Beach Boys episode. They have so many #1 hits, so many hits altogether. "Good Vibrations" being a really, really good one. This one came out all the way back in 1966, and it was voted #1 in Mojo's Top 100 Records of All Time. #6 on Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Songs of All Time. I think Pete said it again earlier. Man, the layers, the harmonies, everything in it, so good. I love the Beach Boys. Anything else to add?
So there's a quote here from Brian Wilson, and I'm gonna tell you ahead of time. Replace every time I say "vibrations" with what kept on our screen. All right. So my mother used to tell me about vibrations. I didn't really understand too much of what she meant when I was a boy. It scared me. The word "vibrations." To think that invisible feelings existed. She also told me about dogs that would bark at some people but wouldn't bark at others. And so it came to pass that we talked about good vibrations. Oh, just those first couple of sentences, I'm like in my head laughing hysterically. Yeah, the song was super expensive to make too. $50,000 to make this song.
And 2 months.
It's in the 60s.
Yeah.
Gosh.
50 grand. I don't even want to imagine that inflation.
I'm gonna look that up. Hold on. $50,000 to 2022 inflation. Let's see, $789,625.
Hot damn!
That's a lot of money.
Just for us to kick it out of the first round.
Yep.
Hope your money was well spent, Brian Wilson.
I mean, they made way more than that off of it, so
Oh, I'm sure.
they don't care about us. They don't care about us.
Yeah. There's definitely some acid trip vibes going on in this song for sure. What I'm told. I don't know. What I
All right.
read.
Well, hey, moving on. We've got dancing in the
You know when
street.
RJ's not paying attention to anything we say. When he
No,
gets
I heard
completely
you.
and
I
just
heard
goes-
you.
Anyway,
I just didn't have anything more to add to it.
no, maybe I did.
And you wanted to add to yourself.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you just keep talking?
Yeah.
So dancing in the street is this the, did we go with the Vandellas version
Yes.
for Dancing in the Street? Okay.
Yes.
So we got Dancing in the Street, and then we have California Dreamin' by
Anyways, I'm
the-
going with California Dreamin' because
Ah, man,
Oh boy. What do you got, RJ?
Yeah, what do
he
you
threw
and
me
Tom
off. I have no
Square
idea
have
what
to
I'm
say?
saying.
You have to pick a song.
I'm doing California Dreamin' for sure.
Yeah. I would have done the same.
Oh, all right. Well,
I don't dislike Dancing in the Street, but I think it was at a disadvantage going up against California Dreamin'. Yep.
Andy?
No. What do you have to say about this song, RJ? I would love to hear your thoughts.
On Dancing in the Street?
Dancing in the
I don't
So,
have much to say
again,
at all. I mean,
here's how
it's a good song.
here's how we do the podcast. So when we pick a song out of the two, we then talk about the loser of.
Yes, but
of
I
the
chose
two.
mine and he chose and you didn't. So I was asking.
Yes,
you
I
to
did.
choose.
I said
What did you say?
when I cut you off at the beginning. I said
Oh,
California.
I thought you were just being mean to me. Okay, so
I
sorry.
can do that
Dancing in
anytime.
the Street, famously covered by the Mamas and the Papas as well. So technically they won twice. But
and written by
it's-
Marvin Gaye.
yeah, it's a great song. But California Dreamin', like Mike said, it wasn't gonna win.
I think everyone needs to do themselves a favor after this podcast is over, or I can put it in the comments. There's a YouTube video of the Mick Jagger and David Bowie version of Dancing in the Street without any music, and someone just inserted squeaky shoe sounds and clapping and then whisper singing. It's really
Yes.
funny.
It's
Yeah.
hilarious.
It's
is.
really good.
So, Martha Reeves, who was Martha from this group, she was a secretary at Motown who couldn't get an audition to sing. And one of her duties was singing the lyrics to new songs so the backup singers could learn the words. And that is how she got discovered to sing for Motown. So,
Yeah.
go after your dreams, kids. Doesn't matter where you are. You
And
can't
then-
be noticed.
Once they hired her for the song, she also convinced them to hire her old band back. And that's how they became the Vandellas as well. So it's kind of cool.
Which-
So
So, like,
know.
if someone comes to me and says, Andy, we want to put your podcast on there, call your old bandmates, and I'm just going to call Mike.
that's right. RJ is disgusted.
He's not listening.
I am too. I'm just letting you guys talk. It's just nonsense. All right. So hey, we are in the top 8 now, guys. How y'all feeling?
Oh, that was fast. Oh, wait, it
Yeah,
wasn't
it's been
fast.
that
Oh, it's
way,
40
but I mean,
minutes.
40
It's
minutes.
fast because we're having fun.
Yeah.
Is everyone else having fun? That's what I want to know.
There's a lot of talking going on, but I don't know if it's fun. It seems like everybody's angry and
Everyone's
Nana-
threatening us.
yeah, and your family's catching up. It's like a family reunion in the chat.
Hey, I'm bringing the family together, okay?
Cook
No,
out next weekend.
If only. The snow won't be melted by then.
But anyways, hey, we're in the
You
top
got
8.
it,
We've got "I Want to Hold Your Hand" by the Beatles versus "I Got You, I Feel Good." What are you guys thinking here? I'm gonna go with "I Want to Hold Your Hand" right away.
This is where the interesting part of how we do this goes, because you can vote for one song originally against a song that you didn't vote for, and then vote for that song. I'm going with these two matched up. I'm going with "I Got You."
Oh, really? I got to go with the Beatles on this one. I got to go with the Beatles on this one. Sorry, Andy. I don't know why I'm apologizing to you. You didn't write the song.
Actually,
I got you,
on your notes.
James Brown, 1965. I don't have a lot to say about it. Like I said, it's making a comeback these days, which is kind of fun. A lot of people are listening to that again, but I don't have really too much else to say about it. Anything from you guys?
It's a great
You know what's
song.
funny is when I'm talking, I sometimes will go off the screen and I can't see the video anymore. And so you guys start laughing at some comment that's come up, and I'm clueless until I come back later and I have to read it. I only have 2 screens and I can't see everything.
So I got you not originally James Brown song, but it was a reworking of a song called I Found You, recorded by Yvonne Fair and produced by James Brown in 1962. She was one of his backup singers that would go on tour with him. But it ended up becoming one of his hit songs once he reworked it. But he recorded it in September of 1964, and the song wasn't going to get released because the rights were split between James Brown and then the song. So the James Brown's voice and vocals were on one label, and his music with the band was on a different label. So the song almost didn't come out, which is kind of crazy. So it took over a month for the song to be released once it was finally recorded, which was kind of nuts.
Hey! Do you know that in 2000, it reached number 21 on VH1's 100 Greatest Songs in Rock and Roll, and number 78 on Rolling Stone's magazine's list of 500 greatest songs of all time. Sorry,
Nice.
I wish I could mimic his voice. I figured I'd get a little.
Well,
I feel good.
What a Wonderful World versus Suspicious Minds.
Oh man.
Oh boy. RJ strategically taking a drink so he doesn't have to choose first.
I'm going to go with What a Wonderful World on this one. I do appreciate Suspicious Minds a lot, but yeah, What a Wonderful World.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Ooh. All right.
Suspicious Minds is a really good song. What were you going to say, Andy?
This is again another one where, even though I didn't pick it the first time, I would choose Wonderful World.
Okay.
Even though Suspicious Minds has been stuck in my GD head for a week.
It's so good. The more you listen to it, the better that song gets too.
Yeah. And again, originally not an Elvis song, which apparently is the chatter of a lot of his songs, but yeah, he sang it really, really great. It's super catchy, you get stuck in your head. Yeah, talking about some suspicion about someone doing some hanky panky
on the side.
Not what they should be doing with in the first place. So.
And this was
you get some good vibrations elsewhere.
And this was the first number one hit Elvis had in years. So I think he had like a 7-year drought of, not having great music. His movie career wasn't doing so well. So when he ended up with this song, it ended up being the number one hit in 1969. And then he ended up doing a tour in 1970, his first tour since 1961. So it kind of brought his career back. And he recorded this song at 4:00 in the morning. Took him 3 hours to record it, which is kind of crazy also.
Nice. I mentioned earlier that I came across Suspicious Minds a little later. I wasn't a huge Elvis fan, but I actually heard another one of Elvis's songs, The Wonder of You. And I actually heard a cover of it that is still to this day one of the most amazing covers I've ever heard. It's actually by the Villagers. So if you want to look up a really awesome Elvis song covered by the Villagers, it was on Big Little Lies, which was an HBO show. And Adam Scott actually fake sings the song on the show, the Villagers version, and super good. So if you like The Wonder of You by Elvis, go check out the Villagers. You will not regret it. But Suspicious Minds by Elvis is off of our list. Anything else to add for Elvis?
Nope.
All right, moving on. We've got Brown Eyed Girl versus Time of the Season.
Brown Eyed Girl, all the way for this one.
Yep, I agree.
Sorry, zombies.
I don't know what I would have chosen here. I assume I'll go with Brown Eyed Girl as well. I do like both of the songs, but
do you know what
I'm
the
not hating
zombies? If they knew about this, they'd probably say brains.
Bad podcast.
Sweater. Yuck.
So this song was released.
Time of the Season.
Yes, Time of the Season
Yes.
I'm glad there's an ending to that.
was released, and then the band broke up, and then all of a sudden the song got big the following year when it broke into the top 100, and then they got back together. And then the song continued to get popular. It sold over 1 million copies, and it made its way to number 3 on the charts. And that was the end of that. They released some more music up until 1972, and then that was it. Womp.
Man. And it was in a Friends episode, the one with the flashback.
Oh,
Which-
okay.
They didn't really play a lot of like actual songs, so
No.
it's a rarity.
You're right about that. Yeah, that's interesting. All right.
Good
Well, hey,
song, though.
the last of the top 8 brings us to the Jackson 5's "I Want You Back" versus "California Dreamin'" by the Mamas and the Papas.
Mm.
I'm going with California Dreamin'.
Wow. Wait, are you serious? Are you serious?
I'm actually torn on this one too. Jackson 5, I thought I would bring all the way to the finals, and I kind of want to as well. But "California Dreamin's" a great song, and it does seem more 60s to me than the Jackson 5. Jackson 5 has a 70s vibe for me. "California Dreamin" definitely more 60s. But I'm torn. Mike, do you have any idea?
I don't know. Well, now that you say that, I mean, Jackson 5.
Making it hard for me here.
Such a good
I'm
song.
going to go with.
You're giving RJ some good vibrations.
You know what? Here it is. I would choose 100% "I Want You Back" as a better song. However, being that this is a 60s podcast today, "California Dreamin' reminds me more of the 60s than the Jackson 5. So for only that reason,
Wow.
California Dreamin'.
Wow,
Mamas and the
RJ
Papas.
is changing the rules.
It's an upset.
I'm not changing the rules.
We don't have any rules.
We're talking about the best 60s song, and this reminds me of the 60s. It definitely is a classic 60s song. If I were to think of "I Want You Back," immediately I would have thought the 70s, but it came out. Was it 1969 that "I Want You Back" came out?
68,
probably,
I
yes,
think.
it was 69.
October.
It didn't top the Hot 100 until January 31st, 1970.
There you go.
Technically, yeah, you'd pretty much consider this an early 70s song, even though it was released in 69.
No, 68. It was released in
They released
1968 as a single.
On a different label. So this
Yes.
on a local
I don't
label.
see 68 at all. Where are you seeing this?
So they released it on a local
my
label
notes.
in Gary, Indiana in 1968 before Motown picked it up. And
That's
released it.
right.
Oh, I do see. No,
That's
wait,
right.
I still don't. Whatever. But anyways,
I'll send you my notes.
This launched their career, obviously.
You can't. You
It
must
did.
be using my notebook.
And then after this, no one ever heard of them again. And it was really sad.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever happened to those Jacksons?
I don't. They're doing their thing. I heard.
I heard that Joe guy was a great dad.
Oh my word.
Wow.
Hey, we're here. This is it. There's so much to say about the Jacksons. I mean, we honestly could go on forever. I was obsessed with the Jacksons. Michael Jackson, Thriller, everything. It's just so good. But even in the 90s, I think, or late 80s, they had a Jackson 5 documentary that was like 5. That was like 5 episodes or something like that, and had Boyz II Men in it, which was very memorable for me. Can we stop?
Stop clicking on it. You don't have to click on it.
I didn't do that. It was Mike.
Oh, Mike.
Fun fact: Michael Jackson and I have the same initials and birthday.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Can we just do? Should we do a podcast of like the best dads ever? We could do that. And
Well, I mean,
we can ironically choose only the worst.
Yes, it'll be opposite day. It'll be all right. You know what? That's our April 1st episode.
No, that's not
Best worst dads.
We're making Andy uncomfortable. Can you think of any other dads you want to throw under the bus currently?
I mean, Michael Jackson hung his kid over a balcony that one time. So
That's true, but he turned out okay. Doing? Little blankie.
You guys don't have to post every comment. Just
they're funny though.
I'm not doing it. I might. But hey, we are in the top 4. Let's just take a look really quickly. We have I Want to Hold Your Hand, What a Wonderful World, Brown Eyed Girl, and California Dreamin'. How does everybody feel about our top 4? I'm sorry. I'm so
very eclectic.
Yeah, but I think it's a great list to have there in the top 4. How does everyone feel at home about our top 4?
There are people chanting dad jokes in the chat.
Well, I mean, I think we're ready for them. The logo has changed, which means and Andy, you are in the top left today, so you get to open this up again for the dad jokes.
Mike, are we at a tie? For the season?
We're at a 3-way tie again. We all have 8 points. I don't know how this keeps happening.
It's the tie of the season.
It's the tie of the season.
So for those of you who don't know what the hell we're doing and just heard a bunch of fart noises, we each tell a dad joke against each other, and the person who doesn't tell the joke votes on which one is the funnier one.
Yep.
And if you are watching on video, Pete has pointed out the horrible face I'm making in that logo. That was all Mike. He chose the worst captions for our 3 faces and made a logo.
I think you should be talking about your face now.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Now.
Oh, well, I can't help that.
And after this, my son wrote us a bonus joke. I won't use it in the
bonus kid joke.
Bonus kid dad joke. That's right.
All right. Well, hey, Andy, let's start it off.
Oh, I have to remember that your kid's watching.
I don't know what he's doing.
So a man is buying a banana, an apple, and 2 eggs. And the female cashier says, "You must be single." The man answers, "Wow, how'd you know that?" And she said, "Because you're ugly."
I can't top that. I can't top that. Oh god, it's so good.
I legit
so good.
I forgot I had that one.
I have so many questions as to why you're eating broccoli at 9:30 at night, 10 o'clock. Is that your 10 p.m. broccoli?
No, she lives in Seattle. It's still too late for broccoli.
7 o'clock. Why are we eating broccoli that late?
Mike, do you just want to forfeit this round?
No. I need to give the people a joke.
All right,
I need to give the people another joke that they can tell their friends at work next week.
I got called champ.
All right.
You're 5 years old.
I feel like we do need to have her on because she's so mean to me.
Trista, you missed an E at the end of the word. It's artiste. Artiste.
Yeah, we should get Trista and your wife together, and you'll just be brutalized.
All right,
Mike.
Here
what do you got for that?
I asked my friend to help me with a math problem. He said, "Don't worry, this is a piece of cake." I said, "No, this is a math problem."
That would have been good, but because it was up against Andy's,
I know.
I'm going to choose Andy on this one.
Gosh.
I had Tina help me out earlier, and I said that joke, and I couldn't get through it. I just like
it's so good. It's so good.
Pete, every episode is an RJ roast.
It's true. It's true.
All right.
Hey, RJ, why do scuba divers fall backwards into the water? Because if they fell forward, they'd still be in the boat.
That's a good one.
I know. All right.
Yeah. My wife, she says I'm way too condescending. Oh, sorry. That means I speak down to people.
I'm giving that one to RJ because I almost picked that one.
What? I lost two. Oh God, I lost two in a row.
All right.
All
right, Daddy Long Legs. You went up first.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
sorry.
just called you Daddy Long Legs.
Guys, I had a hen who could count her own eggs. She's a mathema chicken. But whatever.
I hate it.
Oh man,
I hate it.
Hey, my daughter painted her toenails black for winter formal tonight. I told her, I hope you don't run into anyone who's lactose intolerant.
I hate them both.
Mine just looked better in comparison after he told his joke.
Can I not give either of you a point?
You have
after
to
that
choose
one. All right, RJ gets a point. RJ gets a point that round.
Ah, man, I should have went with the other one.
I did have a backup. I'm actually. I wish I had used it. But...
Listen, I came in with the heat and I went out with a fart.
Yeah, you did.
Sorry.
Jordan liked RJ's joke better. He heard it.
Wow.
He heard it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I picked RJ's joke also.
Well, that's true.
It had to do with the chicken.
Well, what is your son's joke?
Oh, okay. So my son wrote me a joke to tell you guys. Kid says, "Can I have ice cream?" And dad says, "You're screaming for ice cream, you know."
Well, I like the setup.
He made it up. Made it up.
Did you have to read it like that?
Why? What? How else am I supposed to read it? That's how you deliver jokes,
like
RJ.
Jeff Goldblum.
Life finds a way.
All right, Jordan gets the point.
Oh man. Well, hey, here we are. We're in the top 4. Thank you for another, and thank you for the joke, Jordan. If you guys have any jokes you'd like us to throw on air, maybe that could become a thing. Feel free to comment or send us an email. Nice ones,
that
please.
could be bad news.
Yeah, they have to be appropriate.
Yeah, well, I mean, we don't just throw them on the screen unless Mike's handling comments.
Look, man, I'm a socialist. Everyone gets their comment on the screen, okay?
Oh, man. Well, hey, here we are. We're in the top 4. Again, I Want to Hold Your Hand, What a Wonderful World, Brown-Eyed Girl, and California Dreamin'. Let's start with the left side of the bracket here because that's just what you do. I Want to Hold Your Hand versus What a Wonderful World.
Good callback. Good callback, Pete. No one's gonna pick anything.
I'm gonna go with I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles.
I'm gonna go with What a Wonderful World.
Oh, all right. So this is on Mike now.
Sorry, Nana, but I have to go with the Beatles.
Oh,
there it is. You're gonna see it live in person here. Oh, there it is.
You can never watch another
Boom.
New Year's Eve ball drop ever again. as the
All right,
song.
I want to
Hiding
hold
my-
your hand.
hiding my
Moving
face
into
in
the
shame.
finals, the Beatles in the finals. Let's talk about Louis Armstrong. What a Wonderful World.
The dude is the most famous trumpet player ever. He doesn't even play the
How
trumpet
big
in
is
the
that
song.
list?
That's right.
What?
I said
How
that's
big is the
right.
list of the... I'm commenting on what RJ said.
Oh,
You just said he's the most famous trumpet player of all. Like,
Yes.
how big is that list? Like, can you name 5 other trumpet
No.
players?
That's
I
why
can name Dizzy
that's why it
Gillespie.
makes him the most famous. Duh.
I mean, maybe the guy in Monty's fan club played a trumpet. I don't know.
No one in
Might
the
be
chat will know
Andy's
who
the
that
most
is.
famous guy from You Dab Me a Hello. How many are there? There's 3.
I mean, you're right.
Well, What a Wonderful World came out back in 1967. It made it into the Grammy, or Armstrong's recording made it into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 1999. It rose to number 32 on the Billboard Hot 100, which seems kind of crazy. It should have been number 1 at some point. But any other thoughts about What a Wonderful World or Louis Armstrong before we move on?
Yeah. There's nothing else like it on this list. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely
Even for the time that it came out, it didn't sound like anything. You know. So
all right. Well, hey.
Yeah.
That's it. Moving on. We've got Brown Eyed Girl versus California Dreamin'.
Brown Eyed Girl.
California Dreamin'.
Wow. Oh, I said like that. Wow. Oh,
Wow.
Okay.
Tried the combos. If anyone gets that joke. There's 2 people in this chat that will get that joke.
I'm glad you're catering to the crowd.
For anyone that doesn't know what I'm talking about, it's when Christopher Walken was on SNL and it was the Continental. And he tried to be fancy and he just had a plate of combos. I got to go with Brown Eyed Girl on this one. Brown Eyed Girl, still listen to it today. It's still really good.
Wait, I'm sorry. Who did you just vote for?
Van Morrison's Brown Eyed Girl.
Oh, we're kicking the mamas and the papas out right now.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, now I get to talk about them. So, Mamas and the Papas, first off, I'm not going to get too deep into them because there's a lot of incest. But the Mamas and the Papas, great group.
You just can't link something like that out.
Yeah, where did that come from? Is that a thing?
I mean,
is that factual?
Yes, very much, actually, yes. The Mamas and the Papas had a lot of trouble with drugs and sex and alcohol and
sandwiches.
They ended up forming a new Mamas and the Papas, which included his daughter, Mackenzie Phillips. Mackenzie Phillips is the one who ended up going on Oprah back in 2000s to talk about her drug relationship with her dad and also sexual relationship with her dad. Mackenzie Phillips also was on Disney's So Weird, which was an amazing show in the late 90s on Disney, in which he sang a bunch of songs. One of those songs called The Rock, if you want to look it up, by Mackenzie Phillips. A great, great song in which he talks about Ireland, which is where her character is from, as The Rock, but in the same sense, talking about her father, who's also The Rock, in a very too real comparison to her real dad. But she talked on Oprah also about doing drugs with her father. Just a crazy, tumultuous time, and not just a 60s thing, just a messed up thing. So if you want to read just a ridiculous story, The Mamas and the Papas, Mackenzie Phillips, that whole deal. And there's an Oprah episode out there somewhere. But Mackenzie...
Wild.
It is. It's crazy. And Mackenzie Phillips is awesome, by the way. She's also in, for people who are watching, you should remember this, One Day at a Time, which was an amazing show back in the 80s, maybe 70s. And there was a reboot of that on Netflix just a couple years ago. So she's still doing her thing. She's had some issues still over the last 10, 15 years, but still kind of staying in the acting world. So I'm sad to see the Mamas and the Papas go. Because Mackenzie Phillips, I've just been listening to her for so long. But There it is.
Did all of that come out as truth?
It is more of well, I mean, it's all Mackenzie Phillips done a ton of interviews about it. There's a whole Oprah episode from her point of view. Granted, I don't think there's ever been charges.
Not like I more so did anybody like I didn't know that. Like that's a crazy. I didn't know about the interview either, so I'm just like.
I only the Mamas and the Papas I knew. But I knew Molly Phillips more. I'm calling her Molly now. That was her actor name. But Mackenzie Phillips was on So Weird, which was one of my favorite shows on Disney. If you remember that, she played the mother to the So Weird character, and they toured around America while the daughter solved supernatural things.
Yeah, it was a cool show. I remember that.
Yeah, and she actually sung on the show, and I used to have all of the songs from that show on a CD, and I actually sing one of the songs to my kids growing up by her. So I've always liked her. So when she was on Oprah, I ended up checking that episode out, and it's heartbreaking. Even without the whole stuff. I mean, she's just been in drugs for so long. It's just a sad story, but it's good to see that she's still going at it and trying to remain clean and such. So she was just on TV for the One Day at a Time remake on Netflix and such. But yeah, going into the final. Story. Sorry to throw that down. Yeah. Hey, the more you know. We're here in the finals. This is it. We do have I Want to Hold Your Hand versus Brown Eyed Girl. This is a big one. Let's talk about I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles.
Let's talk about them.
It was written by John Lennon, Paul McCartney back in 1963 using a 4-track. Mm-hmm. Honestly, countless number of singles from the Beatles in which I love. This is a great one. I don't know if it's one of my favorites by the Beatles all time, but it's a great song. It's up there. She Loves You was right before that. Can't Buy Me Love came out right after that. Both great songs. I don't know. There's not much bad to say. I mean, it's such a great song, great band.
Yeah, it was their first #1 hit in the U.S., selling over 12 million copies. And I think Kevin had mentioned earlier on that this is the song that really started the British invasion. RJ is petting a cat, but awkwardly, like as if we can't see the cat. Now he's like, he's like the guy on Inspector Gadget.
Talk more about the Beatles.
But yeah, the song was absolutely huge, and really sort of changed rock and roll in the U.S. for the better, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, just watch their appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show, and you don't hear crowds react like the way they did with the Beatles playing that song. Like the girls in the crowd, I'm sure people like fainted, like they were screaming so hard. I mean, I don't know. they weren't the best looking of guys, I don't think. So maybe of that time, I don't know. But anywho,
they were good looking for British people.
We're like the Beatles of the podcasting world, then, I guess.
Yeah.
Like,
we're like okay. We're not like super good looking, but like we're kind of talented, so like we're married.
If you're into dads, this is the show to be at. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Andy's super uncomfortable right now.
Brown-eyed girl. Let's get even more.
Just moving on.
Let's
talk about the podcast.
Let's talk about Brown-eyed Girl was going to be named something different. And I was going to talk about
what was that? I missed that part.
It was going to be called. It was actually originally called Brown Skin Girl.
Oh, okay.
It was talking about an interracial relationship, and at that time, it was something they didn't want to promote. So, and then this song had a lot of controversy too behind it because of the line "making love in the green grass," because you can say that.
So he had changed the chorus of the song from Brown Skin Girl to avoid not getting played on the radio. And then the song didn't get played on the radio anyways because of Making Love in the Green Grass. So then it got changed to Laughing and a Running. And that's why those lyrics are in the song. Laughing and a Running.
So there's female backing vocals to this song performed by the Sweet Inspirations. They were a gospel group, and you could also hear them on Aretha Franklin's Chain of Fools.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, well, here we are. We're with the Beatles. I Want to Hold Your Hand. And Van Morrison's Brown Eyed Girl. Where are we voting today?
Before I lose, I'm going to go with Brown Eyed Girl.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with I Want to Hold Your Hand. So this is on Mike now.
Yeah, it's the Beatles. I don't think anyone's surprised here.
All right, well there you go. I didn't hold on, I had music ready for this.
Very
There it
anticlimactic.
Was this a dad joke?
There it
Oh,
is.
God. Like
I
some-
Want to
the end
Hold
of,
Your
like, a
Hand.
jug.
We're at the end of the You Jad Me and Hello podcast. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Tom Brady ended his 22-year career this week.
And he didn't even thank New England.
Mike, Andy, and RJ at 10 p.m.
Well, there it is, guys. I Want to Hold Your Hand by the Beatles is our number 1 60s song. If you have a problem with that, let us know in the comments. If you think we got it right, let us know in the comments. And let's talk a little bit, as we always do, about the songs that didn't make it but should have. Who wants to go first on that one?
So
You guys
many.
go ahead because I forgot to pull up my list. Hold on.
I know, me
Hold
too.
on, Stand By Me, like I said, is probably
Yeah, I don't know how that didn't make it.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of CCR songs that were that should have been put on there,
gosh,
like
yes.
Rising.
Your cat is going nuts right now.
I know. I can barely
We-
hear because of the headphones, but I'm sure she is. I have 2 cats, so they're probably attacking each other.
We almost put At Last by Etta James on there. That one just missed out. All on the Watchtower, Jimi Hendrix, which is another one of my favorites. Ain't No Mountain High Enough, another Marvin Gaye song that I loved. Mrs. Robinson didn't make the list, and I'm very grateful for that because that song tortured me for most of my life. Otis
But the
Redding,
Sound of Silence is
sitting-
really good.
yeah, Otis Redding, Sit in the Dock of the Bay. I liked it so much I had it on my list twice. And it still didn't make it. 8 Days a Week by the Beatles. I think I like 8 Days a Week better. So yeah,
We didn't have any songs from the Who on here. My Generation.
Who?
I Can See for Miles. Yeah, the Who. That's what I said. The Who. We didn't have my favorite Temptation song, Get Ready, which is a fantastic song.
That almost made it. It
Yeah,
actually
it did.
was head to head with My Girl. We chose My Girl with popularity, I think. But Get
White
Ready's a great
Rabbit.
song.
White Rabbit. Not on here as well. No Led Zeppelin. I'm not sure how Dazed and Confused didn't make it on this list. You know, that's a
Good
pretty
Vib-
popular
Good
song.
Vibrators was not on here either.
Good Vibrators did not make the list.
For me, I have a ton that didn't make it on here. Other Beatles songs, Hey Jude, Can't Buy Me Love, 8 Days a Week. But then another Elvis song, Can't Help Falling in Love. Drifters, This Magic Moment, Under the Boardwalk, Hooked on a Feeling by BJ Thomas. And then one of my favorites would have been I already forgot it. Hold on, sorry. Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons with Sherry
Yeah.
and Can't Take My Eyes Off You. Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons is one of my favorites of all time. They're so good. We had My Boyfriend's Back by the Angels on our list originally. We did end up kicking that off towards the end. The Beach Boys, Wouldn't It Be Nice? God Only Knows. I Get Around. And then Other Monkeys, I'm a Believer. Will You Love Me Tomorrow by the Shirelles. And The Lion Sleeps Tonight by the Tokens was another one I had, and then Happy Together by the Turtles.
That's a good song too. Yeah.
I definitely think this is one that we can definitely revisit maybe next season in our remixes.
That's true. Yes. We have not solidified next season, but we're talking about doing some sort of remix in which we would revisit some topics that either just had so many that we could talk about still, like this one, the 60s for sure. I also think it could be a fun one to maybe even redo some of our past mistakes. Maybe, we look back and go, man, that should not have won. And so, we'll talk more about that. We're only about halfway through season 3, I think, at this point. But it's looking to go in that direction, I think. Guys, I don't think there's anything else to talk about with that. But next week we are meeting next Thursday. What is it?
Can I redo my bad dad joke?
We do have next week top movie sequels of all time. That one is looking to be pretty good. We've got a list right now of 19. We've got to shove down to 16, which we'll be doing right after this. But just think the best movie sequels, sequels that are considered good. I'll throw one out there that's on our list right now. Something like let's see, Ghostbusters 2 is currently on the list. I'm not sure if it'll stay there, but it's on there right now. And then The Dark Knight is another one. So if you like some of the sequels to movies, be sure to check it out. Maybe come with your own. Throw it up on our Facebook or YouTube comments. Anything that you might be looking forward to for the best sequels of all time.
Yeah, and sequels as in just anything after the first one.
Yep.
Yes.
Just not the first movie.
Yes, so it could be the 19th Halloween movie,
That's right.
or the 13th Friday the 13th. But
Sleepaway Camp 4.
But yeah, hey, that's it. I'm excited about it. We're going to meet next week for that next Thursday at 9. Also, this Friday, which is I think is tomorrow, last week's episode will be up on YouTube and Facebook. YouTube and Spotify, anywhere else you get your podcasts. Sister Act 2. Actually, did we have that on our list?
No, that's not on the list.
I feel I'll add it to mine. I like it enough. It's a good one, man. Is that the one that was Sister Act 2 the one with Lauryn Hill, or was that Sister Act 1?
Welcome to You Got Me a
Welcome to You Dab Me a Hello. I am RJ.
Angify. I started Angified Presents.
We share the love of music.
In medicine and therapy, nothing else worked.
It has saved many of us. With mental health, we need to open our eyes.
Hurt people hurt people.
We ask that you listen, comprehend, and relate with your ears.
Form that heart of unity and one.
We share on this stage.
Statistics, feelings,
And ourselves.
we stand with the belief to be you, to be heard, and to be original.
We all may be different, with opinions and beliefs.
At the end of the day, we are all brothers and sisters.
We are
We ask that you join us from a a better.
One, two, three, four.
Well, I left out of Baton Rouge and I got on 61. Trying to make it up to Memphis for one more run. If I can get there before daylight, things will be just fine. Dodging the law at the Tennessee line. that kills and a thermos full of pills. If I get caught with all this shit, I'll be doing the max time. So Lord, don't let them get me at the Tennessee line.
There we go. Glenn? Do I have a
There
Glenn
we go.
in the house?
There we do.
go.
That's better. Yeah, sorry about that. When saw yours, looks like it locked up there, so I went ahead and started playing the song for us. Figured that'd give you time to get back going.
Yeah, it kind of ate up my my browsing this time, you know.
Now, am I hearing me from you, or am I hearing me from me?
I'm hearing a little static in the background.
That's probably
Oh,
the old air
wait for a
conditioner.
second.
Let me see here.
There we go.
And that was me muting the mic physically. That'll do it too. So how you been, Tony? Having a good week?
Good. Good. Yeah.
All right. Excellent. Was out driving around a little bit.
Sounds
Yes.
pretty good.
Sounds good. How about over here? My ridiculous isn't on at the moment, but you should still be able to hear something.
I got mine ridiculous.
Very cool. That way we can have you set that up over there. Let me check one thing over here. And who do we have out here still? All kinds of folks. We got Salvador, we got Rocco and Johnny. Everybody hanging out. It's good to see everybody. We're getting things started over here with the keys. We're going to probably start with a couple different... at one point, we're going to talk a little bit about some groove, and at one point, we're going to talk a little bit about some keyboard stuff and some different progressions, I think, would be a good thing. We were talking about rolling the dice, doing a couple of random progressions as they come up. But we'll see how it goes. I think, in the beginning...
The random challenge.
The random challenge, yep. Rangify challenge. Random. We'll roll them on up and we'll see what we get. It's going for the Yahtzee dice. We'll see here. We'll go with 5, 4, 2, 2, 1. So what do we think about that? So it doesn't have to be in that order, but that's what we have here. We've got a 5, 4, 2, 2, 1. So what about like a 2, 5, 2, 4, or sorry, 2, 4, 2, 5, 1. How about that? So we start with the D minor. So like a D minor F, then a D minor G.
D minor G. You're saying throw the G into the 2?
No, like a D minor chord is a 2, and then the F is a 4, and then a D minor is a 2, and a G is a 5, and then C is the 1. So we're ending off with the 5, 1, so we get that pull back to the 1. So we're doing like 2, 4, 2, 5, 1, and then back around. And since it's 5 chords, it doesn't. Yep, you got it. The trick is that with 5 chords, it doesn't feel like it wants to resolve necessarily, because it usually wants to stay in either 4 chord or 8 chord or 2 chord. 5 feels kind of weird, so we could always just drop one of those. And if you don't drop one of the 2s, for example, we could just use a 1, a 2, a 4, and a 5 in whatever combination we want.
Yeah.
That was nice too, though.
2, 4, 5, 4, 5, 1.
Sure. And we can consider that if we're starting with that 2, we could be considering this as a D Dorian kind of a progression, or if we're considering that 1, then that we would be considering it in C major if we're coming back to that 1. But if home is this D and we keep coming back to this D, then it sounds more like we're playing in D Dorian. All the white notes from D to D. That's all just C major pentatonic. The C, D, E, G, and A.
How about 1, 4, 2, 5?
Yeah. I like it. What about
1, 4, 5, and 2 can be played in many ways.
And that was keeping that 2 minor, and all the others are major, but they don't have to be that way. We could choose to do other things. We could make that 2 major sometimes, or not sometimes in the song, but you could have that 2 as a major at somewhere in there. That would be borrowing that chord, and it wouldn't always sound right, but sometimes, because especially because we're using so much of that natural F, throwing that F sharp in there for that D major sounds kind of different compared to that. But if we went from that D then to that F, see how it doesn't sound the same at all, right? And then the C.
So you're using a D major there?
Just for the D on that one. But that's the thing, is it doesn't quite feel like it fits, but it's something that you can hear or feel the contrast, and you feel where that builds tension there, and if that's a place that you want to put some tension, that's one way that you can do it. Another way would be to replace other ones or put other things that are, a little bit borrowed, not necessarily feeling as natural to the key in there.
Yeah, the D in major does give it a totally different.
It's almost like uplifting a little bit.
Yeah, it's like a switch in mood that you don't expect. Now D major. Go to the F. The D major to an F sounds.
Now, is that going to the F major or the F minor? Normally I would go to the F minor.
Oh wait, is that F minor?
Actually, maybe not. Well, D would have 2 sharps. So D would normally, if it was regular D major, it would have the 2 sharps. But we were actually using D as a major chord, but we were doing it relative to C major being the key that we were in. So we were playing with no sharps and flats, right? Originally, and then when we added in that D major chord, all we did was sharpen that F as a difference from what was going on. So this is the only white note that we changed to make it a different place, and that makes it almost like C Lydian that we're listening to there, because it's a sharp 4. But we wouldn't bring all the rest of the D major chord into that, I don't think, or the scale, I should say. It sounds kind of unsettled there because that's the tritone to the C. And that's where you can sit there and kind of feel kind of feels a little bit off balance almost, because you're going F major to D major, right? Now, if we listen to the difference between the normal chords that we would have in D major, right, where normally D major would just have the 2 sharps, the F sharp and the C sharp, so the normal diatonic chords. So every chord there has just the C sharp and the F sharp, and everything else is white notes. But that's bringing you from D major, E minor, F minor. One of the ones that feels the weirdest is the F sharp there, because that's an F sharp, A, and C sharp. Yep. Get a nice little climb there, yeah.
Guess that I'm actually in C in a mode.
It could be, that's the thing, is everything could be everything else. It's kind of tough to put labels on things, or at least if you do, it's hard to say this is this and not that, because there's a lot of different ways to talk about everything. Even those two, that F sharp and that C sharp, you know, that you could look at those as a D flat and a G flat, depending on what key you're in and what you're trying to look at.
Well, and like you said, it depends on what chords you go to. So, like, you know, this going between this chord and this chord, I guess we're figuring out what mode we're actually in.
Yeah, and in this case, what we were doing is that was all D major, so we were considering this as all relative to D major being the home chord. So D major, E minor, F minor, G major, A major, B minor. It would be C diminished, and that's where we would end up with that C, E flat, F sharp. Which definitely feels weird.
So this is the A diminished with the F sharp?
It would be that A fully diminished if we did it that way. But we were looking at it as the C, the E flat, and the G flat for C diminished, which would have the A on top if you wanted to put the A in. But we were just playing triads anyway. But it was, if we were coming through that would be remember what we call the 7th chord? That's the asshole. So that would be the asshole in this case, where the D is major, so C would be the asshole. And actually, no. We would be doing it as C sharp, I guess, right? Because C sharp is in there, but not C. So C sharp's the asshole. That's the way that is. But even there, it's the that's why. It's C sharp diminished. So it's the C sharp, the E, and the G, because those would all be in the right key. I was wondering why we had that wrong one in there. That makes more sense. And that diminished would also have that B flat in there if we were doing the full diminished, or the A sharp. Always like the diminished. They're always fun. The way I usually find them is looking at that regular C major to start with, and then just dropping to a flat third, to the minor third, and then bringing that 5th down also.
So that's
the triad. Yeah, that's the diminished triad, so we're only using 3 of them. Normally the full one would also have that A on top. would be the full diminished, the 4-note chord. Because then, if for that same, this is all stacking minor thirds. So minor third from C to E flat, minor third up to the G flat, minor third to the A, and then another minor third brings you back to the C. And that's why you can roll the chord all the way up and down the whole keyboard, because you can just keep throwing the lowest note on top or the highest note on the bottom, and it becomes, that's how it goes through the 4 different inversions, which technically are 4 different chords. The C diminished, A diminished, G flat diminished, and E flat diminished.
Well, Ridiculous says this is a C diminished 7.
Yep, exactly. It'll call all of them C diminished 7. If you now put the A on the bottom, it'll call that an A diminished 7, instead of calling it an inversion of the C diminished 7.
Oh yeah.
Same thing. If you keep going down, and if you keep bringing that highest note down, it'll either way, it'll call it each of those 4 names, and so that's why there are only 3 different diminished chords, because otherwise it's just inversions, and each one is technically 4 different names, and there are only 12 keys. So.
Yeah, that's a G. What does that say? G diminished.
G flat. G flat diminished 7. And the other one would be the E flat.
And that's technically the same notes.
Yep. Oh nope, that one's got a missing one in there. That top one sounds like a tie. Were you doing C diminished or which one? C or C sharp?
Yeah, same notes. C sharp or the C, E
And that's why I always like that one, because it sounds very fancy and it's not that difficult. It's just those same 4 notes, just kind of working them up or down, depending on what you're doing.
see the roll up. Can't play it.
That's a good one to practice though, because that is a big way to get the dexterity up and get those moves more smooth. Because the smoother those get, then it's much easier to navigate, to get in between different areas where you're trying to play. If you're trying to play low at one point, and then you're trying to play high at another point, you're able to move a lot more dexterously because you can do little sweeps like that. Even if you're just doing like regular major arpeggios, is another good way to practice that. Just going through 1, 3, 5 and octave. And then, practicing those up and down a little bit, both hands, and that gets you different things that are good to practice to help you out. The other one would be, even beyond the triads, would be if you were doing sevens. So if you were doing, a major 7. And that's basically throwing in the B as well as the C, the E, and the G. Or you could do it as the dominant 7, where you're throwing in the B flat, C, E, G, and B flat. And you can also do it with minors. There's basically being able to throw them all in and try them all and get comfortable with the way they work together. I always like the way that you bounce in with the chords too. Like just having, if you're playing something in C and you have you get a little bounce on the chord and you get something else kind of going on in the other hand. That's always nice. And that's where getting a progression like we did over there with the 2, 4 and the 5 and the 1, getting something like that bouncing is always nice to be able to just sit down and do. It's the kind of thing I always wanted to be able to do, be able to sit down with the guitar or keyboard and be able to just do that. And I'm so glad that now I can kind of do that. It's like be able to just pull something out of nowhere.
Oh, and bounce is the first thing I think about once I've established what chords I'm going to play.
Yep. That was one we were going to talk about at some point also, was some of the different warm-up things that I'll do is, throw on a video on YouTube and just start playing along, whether it's a full concert from whoever or whether it's a playlist somebody threw together, or whatever. A lot of times it's good to just try different things, whether it's a different style than I'm used to playing, or whether it's different artists than I'm used to listening to, just to be able to get a bunch of other things into my ears and under my hands. Because I'll just throw something on, and while I'm listening, I'll just start picking out notes. And sometimes, it's mainly just about not being afraid to just try to hit some notes and see if they're the right notes or the wrong notes, because they're going to be one or the other. And if they're the right notes, that's great. You just kind of work along with those and feel it out from there. It's the best way. But it's how comfortable you get with working with your ear or listening to things, and how comfortable you can hear what different elements of the song are doing. What you hear the bass, what the bass is doing, if you can hear what the guitar is doing. Focus on one thing or another thing, and be able to shift your attention or your focus onto each of those things. It's helpful for mixing also, to see what's overbearing in the mix or to see what's too quiet in the mix. You're able to just shift your focus from one point to another and see which things need to jump out more or need to, be tamed down a little bit. That's one where we haven't done any live mixing sessions yet, but we'll do that coming up here shortly too. Is get some things going on, whether it's in BandLab, or we could even try to do some stuff with Cakewalk. Maybe probably do that as a pre-record at some point. Get something going on for recording some stuff in Cakewalk and going through the process a little bit. We've already talked about Creative Sauce and his different videos, and if people have questions about Cakewalk and all that, that's one of the great places to start, would be with him, because Creative Sauce has so many good videos. Yep.
Yeah, that's where I send everybody.
It's a great place to start. And again, if we were to show stuff on us doing stuff live, it would more just be getting in there and kind of how we do our process in there, whether it's in Cakewalk or whether it's in BandLab or whether it's in Reaper or whatever we use. There's different ways of doing things in all the different DAWs, and it's good to get familiar with how people do things in other DAWs as well, because you might see somebody using a feature or doing things in a way, process flow, workflow that you really like, and it might be better than what you were doing. And at that point, you might say, hey, maybe I want to switch over to that one because that's looks like a better way, or a way that fits better with the way I make music. So.
Oh, and if anybody has a good YouTube resource for Reaper tutorials, send them my way. It's a DAW that I'm boning up on. Yep.
And that's one where typically my experience lately has been watching Jason do stuff in Reaper, and it is definitely good to see the workflow and how quickly he's able to throw things together.
I feel like I've learned 50% of it just watching Jason.
Yep. And also just understanding how they would, how you would expect them to design the workflow, and how, from one DAW to another, there's certain things that are going to be different, but there's just, certain things that really make a lot of sense. It's like they did this way because, oh, well, this is how they do it in other DAWs as well, or this is, similar enough to how it's done in other DAWs, or it makes sense when you just look at the interface. And that's also why I recommend getting familiar with other DAWs.
It does follow a standard workflow. When it comes to DAWs, it follows the rules of the DAW.
And that's the important thing. What's the first rule of DAWs? Follow the rule of DAWs.
Standards.
Have standards.
View, console view.
There you go. Nice. That would be good, yeah. Well, I'd probably put something together like the first 5 minutes in Cakewalk. Like if somebody just installed it, like here's the first 5 minutes of what you should do to get get stuff looked at, to get things to where you're ready to go in a song. Maybe we'll do one like that.
Before you start trying to shove tracks into a DAW, get to know the interface. Get to know what windows and views that are there and which ones can be there. Learn the interface before you start trying to shove tracks in.
Same thing with effects.
Otherwise,
you can go overboard crazy with effects and adding things into the effects chain and tweak things for days and weeks and months, and you still don't have things mixed right in the first place. It's like that's where it's important to go to the basics first, and you can start adding effects later and get everything built up. But do things like add something or change something and then see how it is, and then change something and then see how it is. Don't change 15 things and see how you like it, and then change 15 more and see how you like it, because you don't know what you changed that you liked and what changed it the way you don't like.
That's a good point, because it's just like troubleshooting. If you put too many variables in at once, you never really figure out what you're trying to figure out. You make a small change, see the result. Make another small change, see the result. Don't change 10 things at once, otherwise you won't know what actually did what.
and that's important. And that's the thing, is troubleshooting is kind of where I come from. So that's one of those that it's built into the mindset of how I approach things. And it just always is, try to simplify things down as much as possible. Same thing with if you're working on an effect chain, or if you're trying to try new hardware and you've got 15 things around your house that you'd love to hook up all together. It's like, I want to use this for this, and I want to use this for that, and I want to use this for that, rather than trying to go one big signal chain and getting everything all plugged into everything all at once and then trying to figure out why it's not working. Just take the simplest case. Like in this case, take a guitar and plug it into an amp and see if you can make noise and get to where it sounds right, or sounds like you can tweak it in and it sounds good. And then say, okay, now I want to try this effect. Okay, now add that into the equation. Get that working. Okay, and then the next step. And you go one step at a time instead of like trying to go, okay, I plugged this into that, and then that output into that thing over there that's sometimes on, and then that goes over to there, and then comes around here, and then I plugged into the output auxiliary for this, and it gets over to that. It's like trying to do all that at once can definitely be too much. So just try to simplify.
Especially when you're new to the DAW. If you're just trying out a DAW for the first couple of times, don't go trying to do effects chains and complicated things. Get comfortable with the DAW, get comfortable with the setup and getting the tracks to sound the way you want. Think about mixing and effects and all that second phase. After you've gotten comfortable with the interface, then
that's
it's
also
a good time to do effects chaining and things like that.
That's also where we talk about the importance of a clean signal. And the importance, I mean, not everybody does, but recording a clean signal in, especially like minimal effects on the signal coming in, because you can always add effects onto it, but you can't really conveniently extract effects off of something if they're already on the track. So it's fun to play around with the tracks, play around with the effects that are in there. But when I'm doing the recording of my actual playing, I'm not listening to my playing with the effects on it. I'm listening to myself playing clean, knowing what the effect will make it sound like after. And that's where you do it a couple times. And
it helps you to focus on your clean sound. If you are getting a good clean sound and say a little bit of noise, being able to reduce that noise at that point, recognizing that, you're going to have a harder time realizing if you have a noisy mic, if you're pumping effects through it at the same time that you're trying to figure out whether your clean mic is noisy.
Yep. And it can also be a little bit extra signal overhead, so you could end up with too much noise or too much gain at the end of the process, and it's because you pumped in too much at the beginning, and that's where, again, keeping it down, keeping it well-behaved until you have everything kind of slotted out where it's all going to be and which instruments are going to be there, because a lot of it has to do with being well-behaved in the sound range. Like as a bass, I'm kind of spoiled because I usually have that whole bass range to myself, so I can just do whatever I want down there and nobody's interfering. And I can come up top if I want to, but normally you're just hanging out down there holding it down. Whereas if you're one of the higher instruments, if you're a rhythm guitar player or a keyboard player or what have you, you've got to be able to fit in.
Especially if you're miking your signal, like a guitarist who's miking an amp to get his guitar sound versus one sending a signal, you're going to deal with different noise situations there.
Yep. Sometimes you'll go with a DI box. I mean, some people have really good pedal rigs and they'll sort of do a DI. Some people will go into the amp and you want the signal mic'd out of the amp, go from there. Some people have 7 different guitars that they bring on stage and, set them all up. And, I wouldn't want to have to tune 7 guitars at the beginning of a gig myself, but that's just, one of those things that, that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. This song is this guitar. This song is that guitar. That's fine.
If you got 7 guitars, you probably got a guy to tune them for you before the show.
True. Me, I was always more of a, have one guitar. And actually, I don't really usually even have a backup, or especially with a bass. I only have one bass in the house. I have a guitar, then I have a guitar I could bring as a backup. I could bring my SG, and I could bring the Dean as a backup if I needed to. But I don't realistically play guitar on stage very much. I mostly play bass when I'm on stage, though I occasionally play a guitar song or a keyboard song or sing, depending on what we're doing. But we'll get more of that as things go on.
When he plays guitar, he drinks Dos Equis. He's the most interesting bassist in the world.
I have been known to occasionally use the bottle as a slide, because that's one where there's a couple of songs. Right, there's a few songs actually where. I'm trying to remember which song it is now. I don't have the bass plugged in right now, but
I love the glass slide. When I bought my first guitar, and I bought my first couple of picks, the only other thing that I wanted was a glass slide.
Yeah. glass slides are cool, and metal slides too. I mean, I don't have anything against either of them, but just being able to use any solid object as a slide is fun. And the song I was thinking of is actually the whole song is in E, A, and D. So it's like everything. It's like ROCK in the USA, for example. ROCK in the USA, I think it's all majors, but just E, A, and D. Major, right? Yeah, E major, A major, D major. But the main idea is that I can play it with one hand. I don't need my fretting hand at all because 3 of the open strings on the bass are E, A, and D. So I can just play the middle 3 strings. And for the bass line, I can just get away with playing just those for a while. So a lot of times I'll reach over and grab a drink from my beer, and Joey will look over while we're playing the song, and I'll be drinking with one hand and playing the bass line with one hand. And he goes, "Oh, you suck."
I think some songs were strategically written so musicians could grab their beer.
That's one of them. And then there's ones where if there's like a drum break in the middle or whatever, or everybody stops playing, because that's another one where we might take a break in the middle of that one and do no instruments, just have everybody sing a little a cappella part in there where everybody's just singing the anthem ROCK in the USA. But then we'll do other ones as well, different anthem songs. Some of them we mix there and do like a montage or a mix up.
That was John Mellencamp, ROCK in the USA. John
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, I played I play it, I sing it. I don't even know who does it. That would be a good guess though. It does sound like his style. I was also thinking Dark Side.
Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band.
Yeah.
Their sound.
Yeah. Because that's another good one. That also has a similar sound to that. Probably also similar chords and all that. Has similar feel. So that's one that you could actually mash those up or whatever. I mean, there's good stuff that you can do with a lot of different songs. Rafferty was a good one.
And I like when rock incorporates good piano. Piano rock, that's straight to my heart.
Yeah. What about one of the ones I always liked, Before They Come From My Piano? It'll come to me in a minute. Shooting Star? Yeah, probably Shooting Star.
Shooting Star, that sounds like pop.
That one is more pop, actually. but there's Before They Come From My Piano. There was one that also goes the 2 songs together. I'm so bad with titles, though. It's nope. It's not that song. We'll figure it out later. But I could figure it out even what notes it was before I would figure out what the name is. That's the way that usually works. But I think from what we were doing before, though, that little D minor to the F major, I think was kind of cool. Before, though, that little D to the F. D minor, F major, A minor? D, F, A minor, and then C. Because that way we're doing basically a 2, 4, 6, 1, and the 2 and the 6 are both minor. And so we're keeping it all with the white keys. And we could put the 1 on the top at the end of it too, so that you get it to up to the 6 or up to the 1.
Start with the 1 and you bounce the F quick.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
It's kind of somber.
Mm-hmm. And if we leave that 1 out of there and put in the 3 instead, then it gets like as sad as you can because it's a minor 3, so you get that E minor in there too instead of the C. How about that was D and E at the beginning, right? D minor, E minor?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. A minor, E minor. because the drop from that 3 to that 2, going from the end of the one measure.
I feel like I want to shove the C in the middle there somewhere.
We could take that F out instead of that F in the middle there. That could be the C. So like start from that the 2 to the 1.
Oh, the D to the C and then to the A to D sounds nice.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that does have the 3, 2, 1, but
Yeah, and
the 3 is at the end of that measure and the 2, 1 is in the beginning of this one, so it gives that rolling feel to it also.
Yeah, it throws you off a little bit, but not in a like disharmonious way.
Mm-hmm. Right, right.
So that's a 2, 1, 6, 3.
Yep. And everything except the 1 are all minor. So we're using all of the usual minor chords. The 2, the 3, and the 6.
That is a different progression for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't normally start on the 2.
Right, sure.
To do so, like, makes me start really thinking different approach.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's also where it's important to explore all the different chords that are in the key. It's just that we tend to explore major chords so much that, like, the 1, 4, and 5 get explored a lot, and the minor chords, the 2, 3, and 6 don't get explored as much. So I try to throw in a lot of minor chords when I'm trying to mess around with stuff like this.
See, and the irony is I feel like I've explored the shit out of minor for like the last 30 years.
Nice. Major time then.
Yeah, now it's major time.
Yeah, so 1, 4, and 5. Let's get it on. And throw any of the other, basically any other chord in there with those 3. So get the 1, 4, 5, and, right? So 1, 4, 5, and 2 is what we did a minute ago. But 1, 4, 5, and 6 is the one that we talked about so much before, because there's so many different combinations of those.
Well, and
but
this
you could.
That one goes up nice.
Mm-hmm.
It really steps up nice.
Definitely.
Or actually one more note. That's resolution.
Nice. That's the one. We didn't have our graphic up behind us there. Had to fix that. Much better. Thanks, Sal. There's some nice stuff with those, and that's where I like the different progressions and just trying to figure out little pieces of things, or even little nuggets. When you start getting a progression like that, sometimes it's a matter of flipping it around and saying, wait, I like those chords, but not necessarily the way they're going together right there. It's like maybe this one before that one, or this one here. I mean, those I really like that you just played, but in general.
If I start with a different inversion on the C, if I start the C with this inversion.
Nice. It's got good voice leading.
I like it with that inversion. That's some Billy Joel kind of shit.
Yeah, man. And that's something that gets you out of your box, right? It gets you out of your comfort zone of where you would normally be playing, and that's where it does bring up fresh ideas.
I started with the root, started to see with the root. And bounces up to the 4, nice. Not a lot of work. Bounces to the 5, less work. It's just a slide. 6, same thing. So starting with that inversion makes the next 3 chords all just a slide.
Yeah.
But starting with this inversion,
you have to do that jump at the beginning. Yeah.
yeah, when I change the F here, now the F becomes the high note and the melody's hiding here.
Right. You want to unbury it and keep the melody on top if you can, sure. Because your ear does kind of jump towards the highest note. Hi, you see me. You can, if you'd like to be played, you can DM songs to Angified, and she'll consider them for another show. We'll be playing them another time then. Tony and I mostly talk for this show and play some stuff.
Yeah, DM Angified, we'll check it out. So the other inversion, if I was to do it, would be...
Now, actually, that way it does still rise the whole time, but what about doing those first 2 the same way you just did, but then go down low for the next 2? Like low and then back up a little.
Oh, yes, that makes the G actually feel like it is dropping. With that.
Yeah, I like that.
Those are the glorious chords. You stick with chords like that in like a major scale like this, it's hard not to make something that doesn't sound uplifting.
Yeah. And again, just switching the order of them can make that bounce sound totally different. Because the first time it did really feel like it was continuous motion up, which is good. I like that. That's even more uplifting. But when you do that partial lift where you go, one chord and then up, and then go back down below and then back up.
The G kind of fakes you out because you hear the C go to the F. You feel like you're going up, and then all of a sudden when I play the G in root, it's like I'm still technically going up on the scale chord, but the sound feels like it's coming below you. It makes that G feel like it's pushing from below.
Keeping everything locked in.
Little resolution there on the F to the G at the end. Oh, look at me now, greatest American hero.
There it is. Nice. Oh, don't look at anything red or you lose your superpowers. Nice. And that's the thing, is there are only so many progressions, so a lot of the stuff that you've heard before, you'll hear them in stuff that you're playing.
Just a little variation, depending on how you resolve with that progression. You can play that progression like 10 different ways and make different sounding songs.
Absolutely.
Still resolving the F to the G though at the end there. It's a habit of mine.
Yeah, it's a tough one to break though. I mean, that's a good
well,
sound.
whenever I'm in that key, it's like where I go to like settle.
Mm-hmm. That comfort zone gets you right back home. What was I looking for over here?
Anytime I'm in C, I'm always trying to find a way to slide to A.
Sure. And that's a good one. I mean, that's, being able to slide to that parallel minor definitely helps. Now, the other thing to think about that'll open up stuff as well, replacing in the same way that you replace that C with an A, that's 3 steps behind it. You could do the same thing, replacing the F with the D minor, or the G with the E minor.
Oh, well, if you're talking A to D, that's my jam.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a couple of ways I can, that progression, the A to the D kind of sets the opening mood, but when you go to the G, whether you go up to the C or whether you go back to the A,
sure,
you can go either way depending on like going back to the A just kind of gives you like a double verse.
Now with that though,
the C kind of pushes you into the progression.
Now starting from the A though, and then to the D below it, right? And then you're saying the G. For the G, just bring everything down 1, right? So you're still using the G on top, so that you're right near where you just were, right? So the A to the D, and then you're just bringing that A down to the G, and you're bringing the D and the F down to the B and the D. So you're putting all that on the bottom, so it makes the whole thing sound like it's still walking down. And then the C can either be the bottom, or it can come back up to the top if you want to get the C back. Sounds more like it's coming around, yeah.
Yeah, it does sound like it's coming back around to the A much. Have to get used to playing it with that. I'm so used to playing that with that root inversion. I've done it for 25 years. It's almost like burned in my head.
And that's why it's really important to work on those, because and there's not many, since we're only dealing with triads, there's only 3 ways to play them, right? So you've already got one way down, the root way. Now it's just getting those other ones worked in and figuring out where they make sense. And that really helps for arranging. And like you said, voice leading, making it feel like things are going up or going down or cycling around, whatever you're trying to accomplish in the music.
And again, I'm basically just trying the 3 different inversions on the starting chord. So like A, whether I'm doing A in root position or A in first inversion, right? With the E low.
What's that?
That's first inversion.
With the E low would be second inversion.
Oh, second.
Yeah, basically think about throwing the lowest one on top. So like take the root position, then throw the lowest one on top. So you've got the.
Got you. So if the fifth is the starting note, then I'm in second inversion. So
Correct.
Root,
Yep.
root inversion, second inversion, first inversion.
Yep. And then once you got all three of those, that's all there are. So any of the chords that you know how to play, you can just get comfortable with how those spacings look. Because you'll notice that, when you're going to put the C on top, for example, if you took a C chord and then you put the C on top, you know that the extra space is on the upper end, right? And then if you do the other one where you've got the G on the bottom and the E on the top, then you got the space between the G and the C, so the space is on the bottom, the extra space, compared to your usual major chord.
And the cool thing about starting with these different inversions is it kind of leads where I want to go on the next chord. So if I know I'm going A to D, and I'm starting this way, D feels like it should go this way, A to D. But if I'm starting A this way, D feels like it should, yeah, that's the D I want to go to, because it's right next to it. It's a very different sound though. Like, listen to these two. Very different than they are the exact same chords starting with a different inversion.
That's an excellent point right there too, though, as far as songwriting goes, using both of those at different points. So instead of just repeating the same phrase over and over, that could be a little call and response right there, where you're doing one thing in one spot and like it may be louder, and then the other one you're doing in the other spot and maybe quieter, and those become a whole part.
That gives you the opportunity to have a mood change without a chord change, because you do change the mood.
Yeah, and even the timing. You could. I mean, not that you have to be flexible with timing, but you can even slow down or speed up things like that, depending on what you're doing.
Yeah, if I'm playing like this, I'd be doing like.
Yep.
Bitch of a time with that.
One thing that's pretty cool about the
that's an easy shift. This to this.
The other thing is that the fact that they're also spaced so nicely, like D, F, A, and then A, C, E. If you just use like one hand for one of them and the other hand for the other one, they're basically like right there. Like the highest note of one is the lowest note of the other one.
Oh, dude, that's some Looney Tune shit.
Yeah, some polka stuff going on there.
Oh, totally can hear the polka there. You're gonna get me to learn fucking polka, huh?
Well, that and ragtime, because ragtime's another good one for learning syncopation and getting the off timing going, where your hands are, one hand is hitting and then the other hand is hitting, and they're going back and forth rather than hitting all at the same time. And just like with when you finally get the hang of picking with guitar, like when it starts getting smooth, all of a sudden you can pretty much like double your speed when all of a sudden the picking starts to feel smooth going up and down, rather than just all downstrokes or all upstrokes when you're first starting out. So same kind of thing happens when you really start to get flowing with some of these.
And ragtime and honky tonk are all about the left-right dynamics.
Yeah. Country also has that bounce where a lot of times you're just going with the root, and then you're going to be going to the 5 under is when you're doing the bounce. Or you're playing in C, and then the walk up. And then that walk up was just G, A, B, C. And then once you get that feel of that little bounce down there, Oh,
That's a
Slither.
sports song.
Yep,
Go,
yep.
Joe, made it home safe. Good man.
Back from the sports event. Because
What
we got
is
the
that?
trumpet going.
That little riff, that da 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 da.
That's an arpeggio. That's a major arpeggio in G major. I was doing that. And then the last two are just the DG.
So
1, 3, 5, and octave.
Oh, so easy. Oh my
Yep.
god.
And then I hit them all. And then a lot of times they'll just shift it up to an A major, so you got to get that C sharp in there.
See, you know what I think my problem is sometimes is I think there's more notes going on than there are, because I was thinking like that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it's really just 1, 3, 5 octave.
Yep. And octave is a lot of times the last note that people will guess. Like I'll hear people trying to figure out a song, and I know I can hear that it's the octave, so I know it's coming. And then I hear them play it, and I'll hear them play like the 7. They'll be like it's around here somewhere, and it's like because they won't. Like it can't be that one because I already played that one. But it's like no, it's that one. Same thing where you can double notes. There's some bass lines that sound really really busy, and all I'm really doing is like hitting the one note, and then I'm double hitting the second note, triple hitting the third note, so it's like boom, ba-dum, dum, da, 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 getting something like that going where it sounds a lot more complicated than it is.
That's how you sound so fast.
That it helps. Plus, hammer-ons help too. That's another hammer-ons and pull-offs. Yeah, absolutely. I cheat all the time. And one of the big ones was I don't have the bass plugged in, but one of the big ones that I saw I think it was from Scott's Bass Lessons, where he was doing one with let me do the other one. With the one pattern.
And if you're a bassist out there and you're not subscribing to Scott's Bass Lessons,
then you got problems. Yeah.
Is he still running those contests? He was giving away a ton of killer equipment at one point, wasn't he?
He was, and he brings them up occasionally. Like it depends on what he's giving away at any given time. But he did one at that point. He was giving away, a $3,000 bass, another $3,000 bass, and just I think it was probably 7 or 8 bases in total, as well as like, other things, memberships, all that kind of stuff.
He's trying to get to like the 1 million subscriber mark and big promotion with like tons of killer equipment.
Yep. The move that I was thinking of was usually there's that like 1, 3, 1, 3, 5 that I'll do where I'm just doing like, as far as relative frets. I'm at the 5th fret, so this would be 5, 7. This would be like on the frets 5, 7, 5, 7, 9, but instead of doing 5, 7, 9, he would actually do like 5, 7, 5, 7, and then where you're doing like hitting this one and then sliding up and sliding back down at the same time. So, and you can actually kind of hear it. And that's one of those little moves that like the first time I saw it, I was like, wait, no way, because that was way too easy and it sounds way too fancy. But
well, easy for you guys. You guitarists and bassists are lucky that the slide technique is so natural with that instrument. With the keyboard, unless you get comfortable with the pitch wheel and you program that, sliding on the keyboard can be.
It's tricky for sure. And that's where we're playing trombone, for example, and that's where one of the ways I would suggest doing it is in A minor with the trombone. And that way you're doing the A, the C, D, E, and the G, right? But anytime you're hitting that G, you can use the bend up to get to the A, right? And that gets you back to the home key. So you're playing an A minor. So you can always do that. Also anytime you're hitting the C, you can always bend it up to the D. And you can always bend the D up to the E. So if you can always bend up on the C, the D, and the G. And that gives you a little bit of, like, those spots are always good when you're playing in that key.
That's where knowing when to bend is useful. That's the other part of my brain that hasn't picked up is where to do the bends. Like with guitarists and bassists, they tend to naturally like bend their strings at the right notes. Whereas with keyboards, sometimes it doesn't make sense to me where the bend should happen.
Mm-hmm.
or I'm playing something where it's like I can't free up a hand to go hit this wheel.
Yeah. And that's where some of them, it would even be, again, depends on what you're playing, but some of the different patches might have it where the harder you hit, rather than making the note louder, it actually bends it up depending on what you're playing.
Yeah, that's why I want to try those MIDI rings. Because
I
think with that MIDI ring and actually moving my hand forward and backwards, I would try to bend more as long as I can keep using the hand to play.
The other thing is that a lot of the bending that you would see people do would be when they're soloing. And when they're soloing, they're usually not necessarily having to be the guy holding down the chord. So it's a lot more, it's in a band situation as opposed to just one guy sitting with a piano doing stuff. So that might be also a place where it hasn't been as much into what you're doing if you're used to playing the whole song yourself, right? Like people who are used to soloing and playing the song by themselves, they can't focus as much on what they're doing solo-wise because they're busy holding the chords down. But if you had a whole band with you, they're doing the whole song around you, and you can focus all your energy on just that solo, and that's where that solo and the bend wheel, like the left hand just becomes part of that bend wheel, mod wheel, while you're soloing up and down with the right.
And that's when you can really appreciate your instrument. When you are in a band and you can just focus on your instrument and not try to be a one-man band, you get to really play your instrument.
It's a big transition too, especially, I mean, I'm still most used to playing bass in a band, so I'm still used to being the guy who's holding down the bottom. And so to try to play guitar, all of a sudden it's like it feels weird to not play. Like when it comes to the one, like I'm used to always playing on the one because I'm playing the bass. That when the one comes, I don't have to play if I'm playing guitar. I can play on the offbeats. I can play solos. I can even sit out for a couple measures.
Have you ever filled the role of a rhythm guitarist who occasionally fills leads? Like,
sure.
you know the rhythm guitarists who will throw in some licks here and there because to fill things out.
Oh yeah, and that's where when we were talking before about triads, that was huge because that's one where observing a band like, again, the Grateful Dead is, I always come back to them, but just seeing any band really with two guitar players with interplay back and forth,
and they complemented each other.
And
neither
they complemented each
was
other.
The lead, neither was the rhythm. They were both kind of always covering each other's ground.
Now, I always saw Jerry doing the leads and Bob as kind of, doing more of the backing, but at the same time, most of what he was doing behind Jerry wasn't just sitting there comping chords like you might expect, but doing tasty little fills, like you were saying. And that's where those triads are important and the inversions are important, because the inversions, because you can be in this position, or this position. And again, on the guitar, you can be in any position, anywhere along the neck. I can find you an A chord anywhere. I can find you a B chord anywhere. Like that's part of how Caged helps you out, and knowing the movable chord shapes and being comfortable with where the notes are on the neck helps you to be able to pick out a major or minor or whatever chord flavor that you want in any position on the neck, for the same reason that you were just talking about the inversions on the keyboard, where it might feel more comfortable to bring that F chord to this inversion because it fits better with where the other chords are. Same kind of story with the guitar as well. So that's where and just being able to and knowing what he's throwing in is the other key part there. So just watching somebody analyze that and seeing where, like, if it's all root 3/5, root 3/5, like you'll see a lot of that, where a lot of the notes that people will be pegging on are going to be either arpeggios or just the straight major or minor triad chord tones, because they're just, those help hammer home what key we're in. And so, like, the bass is usually going to be hitting that low note, so we're going to usually have that low root always handled. So a lot of times guitars, they'll do that first inversion chord. So on that C chord, instead of playing a root position, they'll be playing it in the first inversion because they know that the bass is going to be handling that low C.
Your choice of claw on a bass or a guitar will be relative to, like, how you want to play that part. Just like I'm trying to decide on this inversion or that inversion, which one makes it easier or sounds the way I want it to sound as I progress. The claw, your starting claw on the guitar is the same challenge.
Yep. And a lot of times, depending on what you're doing, some songs make more sense to do this way than that way.
You guitarists, you guys are pretty quick at, like, changing claws on the fly. It's easier to say than the keyboard sometimes, but you're looking for a certain sound from this chord to that chord.
Right. And then sometimes there's the same thing where, for example, if we were to look at the claw on a keyboard of the C major chord, right? So we'll call that the 1-3-5, like the C. You're just hitting those. That same claw, when you slide it up one note, you're getting the D minor. same claw where you're going the same number of white notes apart, but it's a different flavor now. That major chord is now a minor chord, but you're playing it the same. You know, it feels the same. It looks the same.
It still feels exactly the same to me. I just move my hand like you guys do on the neck. Move up and down.
And for us, for guitar, the one claw. Let me go to the bigger one here. The one claw that we use for minor, we call it the A minor movable shape, right? And that would be the one where it's a bar on, like, we're not playing the fattest string, but all the rest of them we're kind of barring across.
Wow. A minor's that easy for you?
And, well, these two and that one.
Oh, that does look like a little work there.
But that's not the only. That's not the only A minor. To do an A minor, an easier way, you could just go right here and here. That's A minor on the 5th fret, because now you're playing all the strings and just this one at this fret, and that's an A minor 7.
So
but the idea was, though, that
do anything there, huh?
this A major shape, or sorry, A minor shape, if I bring it down a string to here, that same claw is now major. So this would be, if I do on the 3rd fret here, like G major, and this would be C minor. So like a major shape and a minor shape, even though it's the same claw, just moving it down one string changes it from major to minor.
It's funny. It actually looks like more work for you to go major to minor on the guitar than for me.
It also depends, though, because I can also see right here, like if I play just the top half of that, or like just play four strings, leave this fat strings out of it, this would be major, where I'm doing, this would be 5th, 4th, 3rd, and 3rd for the frets, so 5, 4, 3, 3. But if I were to just do all 3 of these on there as the bar and just that one, then that's minor. So the minor is easier by leaving that one out. So it's either a stair-step case like that, or it's like that bar and this one to be minor. So that's a nice easy switch. So you don't have to play as many notes as the thing. You can just do little triads.
Your majors are requiring a little more finger work.
It depends. In that position they did.
For that particular chord.
Also for like, for example, minor 7 is one that I like a lot. And you've probably seen me do like the little spooky riff. Where you get that little minor 7. And that's actually just a bar going across all of them, and you're hitting 2 other notes in here. In this case, this is not C, but F, I guess. F minor 7. And then it's actually an easier, when you go to the next string down, the fatter string, if I want to go down here, this would now be B flat minor 7. And it's just the whole bar and just one note out ahead of it. But the main point was just that you can use the same claw on 2 different string sets, and you get from a major to a minor. And that some of the claws and string sets are just very easy little straight bars that you can use, whether it's major or minor, depending on which position you're in. The major bar would be from the movable G shape, because the movable G shape, if I was playing it up here, you'd be playing, it's kind of a bit of a stretch, but if I was playing it as a C chord in the G shape, I'm playing these 2 on the 7th fret, or sorry, the 8th fret and the 7th fret, and then this bar back here at the 5th fret. But I can just play that little bar and play 3 of these strings, and that's a C major triad. So I can just play those anywhere I want. That's a C major triad, then D major, E major.
Now you're plucking right now, right?
Right, I'm plucking, sorry, with 3 fingers.
Yeah. Now
I play fingerstyle mostly, but yeah.
If you were playing finger style and arpeggiating across the strings, and your choices of the chords that you're going to do on the neck, because an arpeggio lends itself to certain chord structures more than a strum.
Right. Exactly. And that's why certain songs like
it's more as complicated to play on the right hand as the left hand when you're doing that versus if you're just focused on your neck and the strum is just a beat.
There's definitely more to it, and that's where it's sometimes it's the rhythm that's the complicated part, sometimes it's the fretting, but it depends on whether you're trying to play fast notes or whether you're trying to get a complicated rhythm going. But the main thing is just the different claws for different things. Now on the bass, I don't really do much of the claw stuff. It's more just being comfortable with being able to. For me, a lot of sliding. I do a lot of sliding on the bass. Not everybody does, but I guess it's one of those things where I guess I got used to it from playing fretless for a little while, and it's just too much fun to. and it's not that hard, but you have to get used to it because the strings can cheese grater up your fingers a little bit if you're not used to it. So you got to toughen up a little.
Ropes.
they're bridge cables. They're definitely fat. Definitely fat, especially on that 5-string, because that low B string is really fat. And that is what makes the difference there. But even that's also where, if I don't have time to practice as much or play as much as I would want to, some of the times I'll just pick up the bass and just kind of play really rough for a few minutes and do a lot of sliding, like, and by doing that, I'm roughing up the plucking fingers because I'm doing a whole lot of, with the plucking, and I'm roughing up the fretting fingers because I'll take like the first finger on one string, go woo, and then I'll do the second finger on another string and woo, and like rough up each of the fingers individually by sliding, halfway up and down the neck. And that's just one that, in just 2 minutes, I can really toughen my fingers up as if I played for an hour. And, I didn't learn as much as I would have learned if I was, really focusing on learning something new for an hour, but it will keep your fingers in shape. Because if you go too many days without playing at all or without playing enough, you kind of lose the calluses and not be able to play as much anymore.
And you guys you're toughening up two things. Guitarists and bassists are toughening up the skin on the finger, plus the muscle exercise that the finger is doing. You guys have a double-edged battle. For me, all I got to do is really get my fingers warmed up. My keyboard does not wear them out my tips.
Well, that was one where it doesn't wear out the tips, but I used to have problems with endurance on the keyboard from just playing, or I guess it could be from playing like big stretched positions maybe, where you'd feel hand fatigue even from that.
And it's harder to feel a note if the front of your finger is numb because you're all calloused up from playing for hours. If you can't feel, it actually does affect your playing.
And in some cases on the guitar, it's helpful if you can't feel. In some cases, where you're actually using that as if it's like a slide, when you just slide, or not even feeling the pain. Like the callus makes it so that there is no pain. It just feels like there's just nothing there, or it feels like you ever have what was it, rubber cement? Remember that rubber cement or glue on your fingers or whatever, and it's like you could feel something there, but there's something on it. Yeah, same kind of a thing where it feels like there's an extra, something protecting the edges of your fingers or the tips of your fingers from what you're trying to do.
Tony Iommi. I have a robot finger.
And actually, with Scott from Scott's Bass Lessons, he plays with a glove on his fretting hand, and for him, it helps him where he actually not like a mitten, but it's like a really thin glove. The idea is it has to do with a condition that I believe he has where he would. His hand would like freeze up on him if he doesn't have something that's in contact with it. So by wearing the glove, just something touching the skin on the hand makes it so that when he's moving, it doesn't happen. Yeah, so he just has these very thin gloves that he does it with.
Some people are sensitive to metal. Like, I did construction when I was a kid, and getting the nails out of the pouch, my hands would become like arthritic if I kept them in the pouch. I could feel the metal. It affected my bones. I could feel them in my bones.
No fun, man.
It's like a sense.
Feel it in my bones.
Certain metals. It's the reason why some women, when they put necklaces on, it goes green.
Like a copper necklace, sure. That could happen.
Reacts to some people.
Same thing happens with guitar strings or bass strings, where like my buddy, he could come over and play my guitar, and within hours, the strings look like they need to be changed again. But I could play my guitar for months with new strings, and they would still look brand new. And it's not because the hands are dirty or anything. It just has to do with the chemical reaction, whether it's sweat or yeah, it could be. I did just put new strings on this one though, so these should look all pretty.
Well, and metal strings, come with metal complexities.
Yep. And they are complex beasts as well, but they're all nice and shiny still.
It's what's cool about the nylons. Nylons are so much less maintenance.
Well, in some ways, yeah, but they actually, I would say now, I haven't really had any nylon guitars in the house. I have played nylon guitars before, But to me, just thinking about the materials, I would think that metal, is susceptible to, atmospheric changes as well. But I think nylon would be too in certain ways, like whether it's stretching or whether it's humidity or whether it's temperature. Like I would think it would still go out of tune.
Yeah, it's not perfect, but when it comes to the like teaching guitars and why like they choose to like fill schools with the nylon acoustics, it works a lot across that environment.
I think some of it would also be that it's more comfortable on the fingers. Yeah, easier on the fingers.
Easier on a starting, a 4th grade kid that's just learning guitar.
Yeah,
is much more comfortable with the nylon.
Now the other question is for restringing. I mean, you probably have a spool of like 1,000 yards of nylon around, whereas you wouldn't necessarily have guitar strings, metal guitar strings around like that. So you could probably get away with a lot of workarounds, let's say, on stringing, where you just just use this or use this, hacks, fishing line of a few different thicknesses, and all of a sudden you got everything you need.
Fishing line, you are out of the box thinker.
I mean, I have no idea if it would be good or not, but
well, you definitely would get a sound.
You would definitely get a sound, yeah. And that's all the question: is it a good sound? Is it a bad sound? Does it only work for fish? Like maybe the fish only come out and listen to the song. Who knows?
Or does it only work on fish music?
That could be too. You can only do jam band stuff when you're playing that. Now that would be interesting on a 12-string also. But I do like the overtones on a metal 12-string because that is definitely bonus.
Yeah. On 12 strings, it is all about the steel resonance between the two strings that are complementing each other.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It almost rings like a bell.
Mm-hmm. And actually, that's the way the sitar works as well. Where there are on the sitar, it's strings that are not actually being struck that resonate because they're the same. Like you're hitting an E, and other notes that are E's are ringing out just because there's an E ringing.
Was it you who showed me that guitarist who had they called it a harp? It was like additional strings that were on the guitar.
Yep.
They don't play them, but these strings resonate off of whatever's getting played. And
in that case, it was a sitar. It wasn't necessarily a harp guitar. That was a sitar one. If they're ringing and you're not playing them, then generally that's the sitar thing going on, where it's a sympathetic vibration. They're tuned to the same note, so they ring out because you're playing these notes. But on some, you would just strum across them, so that you could like be playing what you're playing and then just strum across like a harp. So you get that whole that sound that you would get when coming all the way down a harp.
Yeah, the one that I saw was a sympathetic one. That it was basically just humming behind the guitar, but really added a nice layer.
Nice. And that's where that was the brass over there. But what else was we looking for? Clarinet was always a good sound as well. Into the wind.
This is where you start thinking melody.
And usually for me in melody, I'm usually thinking pentatonic right off the bat. So if I was doing all white notes, I'd be thinking about that A minor pentatonic.
An instrument like this really wants to take the lead. Like,
Definitely.
You hear a sound like this, you want it to kind of lead other things. It's rare that you'll hear like clarinets actually playing in the background, accompanying other instruments. Like flutes, certain ones always kind of come out to the front, even when they try to use them for rhythm.
I used to feel that way about trumpet too, but seeing more bands playing with a
trumpet is as much a blast beat as it can be.
Yep.
Jazz trumpets are like blues players.
Seeing more horn bands or bands with a horn section, I can definitely see how that horn section all works together as a unit, which is very cool to see also. because that's like a mini version of seeing an orchestra going on. You know, like they got the little mini orchestra of them doing their thing together.
The brass stab.
Yeah, yeah. And I changed over to the viola.
I do love my strings.
That works too. F major pentatonic. Or D minor pentatonic.
See, like the clarinet, you start thinking of like melody when you have an instrument like that. Like a viola, I want it to lead a melody.
And again, either whether it's D minor or F major, either way works.
And that could work for Game of Thrones music, RJS. Good to see it.
Aha, there you go. Good to see you, RJ. Gotta go somewhere else from that A, though.
You're starting on A or E?
That was a D minor, F, A minor, and G. First one was D minor, right?
Oh, D.
F major, A minor.
F major.
Yeah.
Oh wait, F majors. That's F major.
There you go.
Good. I got it.
Yep, yep. And that's just 2, 4, 6, 5, but they're all, you know, minor 2, major 4,
Again, the
minor
two.
6, major 5.
Starting with the 2.
Yeah.
Fucked me up. But it is cool.
That's all just D minor pentatonic or F major pentatonic. Mainly that was D minor because I'm focused on that being, even though we're starting it with it as the 2, if I work with that as the minor pentatonic from there. There's the D, F, G, A, and C. Very nice. The reason those chords work so well is because the D minor has the F and the A in it, and then the F has the F, A, and C, and then the A minor has the A and the C and the E. So it's like each of those chords, as we're moving up, you're using two of the same notes as you were just using. So that's why they flow so nicely. And then we just drop down by one.
And for the most part, I feel like I'm in A minor, other than
Sure.
that little funky, is it F sharp that comes in there?
F major.
Actually, no, there's no funky notes in that one.
Nope. So that one's all diatonic chords, we would say. They're all in the diatonic key that we're playing in, which technically we're all, they're all related to the key of C major or A minor. A minor is the one that's in the progression we're doing, so I would relate it to that for sure.
And it's all relative in music.
And it is all relative. Because normally, like we were saying, that the one way to describe that would be to say that this is a minor 2, major 4, minor 6, major 5. But we could also describe it starting with the A minor being the minor 1, right? And then we're actually going from the minor 1 to the major 3, to the major 5. Or sorry, to the minor 5. Minor 3, major 5, and then to the 1 and the 7. Because the numbers all switch around when you start doing things in minor. Because that minor 1 becomes the 1.
There can only be one.
Yep. But the other thing that changes is instead of it being the 7 that's the asshole, it's the 2 in a minor key that's the asshole. Because that's where the 7 sits.
Well, the 2's misunderstood. I'm liking it a lot more after tonight.
Yeah. Well, that's the 2 on a major progression. This we're talking about a 2 in a minor key. So if we were playing in A minor, we're talking about the diminished 2, which would be the B diminished. Or the minors.
You had to bring the B in.
See?
You had to bring the B into it.
You see? What kind of an asshole brings the B in? Very cool.
I just want to give it that look.
What about that? G, F, E, C, D. Kind of encapsulate the D. Nice. It's a good bounce. I like it.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna.
Is that pizzicato strings or?
It's a combination Piz and staccato. A little bit of Piz, a little bit of stack.
I was using tremolo at first, which are kind of nice.
That's more Piz.
And it's the more Piz on my side now.
Sound.
Nice.
I
Soundtrack
see Elmer
stuff.
Fudd hunting for bugs and big tall grass, which you're going to render on, on that AI.
Matter of fact, I have a bunch of them rendering right now. Or actually, no, they were rendering, but they are finished.
Well, wabbit season.
Duck season. Coming right along.
Elmer's coming for you. Wahahaha.
That's the other question. How loud is that?
Come back 10%. Probably sound good with the acoustic bass too.
Yeah. Where do you go? Sin bass now. Slap bass. Fretless.
Nice and slow.
There you go. Haven't tried the Barry sax.
I think I could turn this into some dance music too.
Now that's low.
shit that you can use in Game of Thrones.
A little harp action. There's 2 octaves of triads.
It's like going up to heaven with the harp, but it's long, hard journey. Gotta smooth that one.
Rello's right, that's a driving tune for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, Outrun.
It's got some Knight Rider to it, some Outrun to it. Ange is right, we're going to have to wrap it up soon.
Oh yeah.
But there'll be time for more fun other days as well.
That was a fun journey through 2. I have a big appreciation for 2 now.
Nice.
Full
And on our
thing
next
winner
episode,
and
we'll
me.
visit 6 and 3.
But 3, I think, is next.
3 is next, yep. That would only be fair. And for that one, we might have to bring in a guest, bring in Ange, because 3 is her favorite, so she'll have to come in and sing the praises of 3 for us.
She'll have to be a 3 consultant.
Yep. And let us know all the benefits of the 3, because that is important. But thanks again for joining us for another episode of Talking IT. We will be back next time.
Hi, I'm Angified. I started Angified Presents.
The love of music.
It has been medicine and therapy, nothing else.
It has saved many of us. With we need to open our eyes.
Hurt people hurt people.
We ask that you listen, comprehend, and relate with yours.
Form that heart of and one.
We share on this stage.
Statistics, feelings.
And ourselves.
We stand with the belief to be you, to be heard, and to be original.
We all may be different.
At the end of the day, we are all brothers and sisters.
We are family.
We ask that you join us in a magical journey with artists from around the world. Open your minds. Let the love.
And listen with your hearts.
We all want a better tomorrow. Be one.
And look out for one another. And then, and only then, will you find the world.
We will find peace in all the world.
And we'll find this shining world. He was among us and